Raider Nation, I missed all of y'all. My name is Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the Raiders head coaching rumors because we got to be able to face the facts here. Where there's smoke, you can comment down below how I would finish that sentence. There's a lot of smoke right now around Pete Carroll not being the head coach next season. I did put out a video just a few, 90 minutes ago, an hour, about the Raiders potentially moving on from Pete. It was from Ian Rappaport, and then also a Raiders beat reporter that I spoke to yesterday had some interesting things to say about it. We'll kind of go through a little bit about that show that, again, went out about 90 minutes ago here on today's program. Then I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to tell you all this right now. The Las Vegas Raiders are guaranteed to have a top 2 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, and we're looking for glass half full. At this point, the future is where you're going to find the glass half full. Then Chugs put together a show. The show that you guys are going to see around some crazy head coach rumors. Jeremy's been helping me out a lot today. I am here. Obviously, I'm still not 100%. I'm still battling, a little bit of my flu-like symptoms. So Chugs put together a show around some crazy head coaching rumors that if you haven't seen them, they're going to blow your mind, and when you see some of the names that are going to pop up here, yeah, we're going to have to talk about some things. We are going to do a duck race today. Haven't done one in a long time, so if you want to get it in, now's your chance to do it. $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 is how you're going to be able to get in for this duck race on the program. But before we start, to everybody out there over the past week that wished me nothing but love, wishing me, healthy times to get back. I had people messaging my wife. I had people messaging me on Thanksgiving. I love being able to do this show. And again, you'd have to put me on my deathbed for me to not be able to do this program.
Oh.
I think it's dying.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Will Pete Carroll be the Raiders head coach next season? Give me a yes.
If you're watching, we need a new one.
Give me a no. Let me know down below whether or not you think Pete Carroll is going to be the head coach next season. And this is, again, not a question in regards to do you want him back. I don't think anybody wants him back. But at the same time, Pete Carroll was hired on a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option. We know that I don't think that the Raiders really truly want to fire him right now. But at the same time, when you look at the results, I don't know if there's ever been a head coach deserving more to get fired. So Scott's going to say yes, Pete Carroll's going to be back. Big Dog says no. Elijah says no. We got ED, my man. Mount Raidermore. John Scheffler says yes. Interesting, Sheffy. Zalesbo going to go with a no.
When you think about it, our horn is kind of like Pete Carroll. It used to be great.
Yeah.
And now it just can't finish.
And now it's just coming up a little bit short. A little bit short.
Yeah.
We are going to be answering a lot of questions today. So if you want, get those hashtag Raiders in Super Chat is how you're going to be able to get those programs up here rocking and rolling.
And the number one question that I've seen so far in the chat, Mitch, is what's America's...
Adam Thielen going to the Steelers.
Wow.
Very interesting. Darius Slay was just released, and they ended up promoting Asante Samuel Jr. Adam Thielen now heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's pretty interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. The one question I've seen repeatedly asked down in the comment section is, what's America's number one fantasy sports app out there?
If I had to guess, it is PrizePicks. Is that it? Bingo. PrizePicks is America's number one fantasy sports app out there, and they are sponsoring today's show. And it's the holiday season. Whether you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas, the best time of the year, sports, bowl games, basketball matchup, playoff pushes, or tankathons, is it's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day on what gifts to buy, what to eat, who to blame for the Raiders' 2-10 season, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's on PrizePicks. PrizePicks also has a brand new feature that it's early payout. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And I don't know if y'all agree with this statement. I care more about the Texans beating the Chiefs this week than I do the Raiders beating the Denver Broncos, because at this point, I don't think I want the Raiders to win another game this season. And it pains me to say that. I'm not Team Tank, but I also don't think that the Raiders have to try to lose. So the lineup that you guys see up on the screen right now is actually going to be Jeremy Chuggs' lineup for when the Texans play the Chiefs. And as always, give me an FKC down below. But I actually love this one by Jeremy. Will Anderson, give me the more there. Jaden Higgins got some mores there. And Patrick Mahomes going up against arguably the best defense in the NFL right now with the Houston Texans in that front led by Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to be able to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. What's up, Rebel? Are we worse than the Giants? I don't know how you kick the ground.
That was something.
Yeah, again, I've watched a lot of football in my day. If you were to show that kick, and again, if you were to just show like the motion of the kick, what's his name, Young Ho kicking the grass, I mean, that's what it is. It would. I think that people would be like, "Oh, that's what happened on game day on Saturday," and somebody was kicking on Pat McAfee.
That's
actually unbelievable.
That was the closest I've ever seen to an actual Charlie Brown kick in the NFL.
I still can't even believe it. And when it happened, I remember being like, "Oh my God, I think he actually kicked the ground." And then you watch it back, and you're like, "Holy shit, he kicked the ground." But in all honesty, I'll say two things about this, Rebel. One, I do actually think that the Giants are a much better football team than the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the Giants have lost, I think, 5 games this year when they've had a 10-point lead. And I'll tell you this right now, I think the Raiders, the only time that they've had a 10-point lead is up against the Tennessee Titans. And I get it. Like, when you see 2-11, again, the Giants are a bad football team. But there is not a team in the National Football League that is worse than the Las Vegas Raiders right now, especially with this offensive line that we have, and especially with all the other issues that we have right now. But luckily, we get to settle it. Week 17, Raiders-Giants. That's going to be one show that I'm telling y'all this right now. You're not going to want to miss. Let's go to Mount Raidermore Venthrak. New nickname, Hot Seat Pete. Let's do it, man. You know, I saw a tweet out there from JT the Brick, and JT said it was like, "You should respect the careers of Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll and not trash them over a bad season. I would say this about any legendary coach in any sport. Put some damn respect on his names." I agree that Pete Carroll deserves some respect. And I agree that Bill Belichick deserves their respect. But also at the same time, if you're making $15 million in a year and you're doing a shit job, you're allowed to criticize them, right? Like, that would be like you're not allowed to criticize somebody like JT the Brick for doing a shit job now, but he was once really, really good. I'm not saying he's doing a shit job now, but like, I don't understand how people can sit up here and do this type of job and say, like, we can't criticize people for what they're doing right now. The reason why Pete Carroll's getting paid $15 million per year, the reason why NFL players are making the amount of money that they do, the reason why sports in general is making the money that people do, it's because of the entertainment value. It's the sports contracts. It's the television deals. Like, that is all into the reasoning of why these guys are making more money than they've ever made before. So, Hot Seat Pete, I think that we're more happy to criticize them, and I think if anybody is upset that you're criticizing a head coach, again, I think you got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, maybe I'm not cut out to do this job. Let's go to the Tribal Raider. What's going on, Tribal Raider? Raiders Mitch, also, Tribal Raider, you're the first person, I believe, that is in for our new giveaway, and I'll show y'all what the deals we got here. Mitch, if Pete gets fired and we actually go into a rebuild, what happens with Max being that he said he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild? You know, I mean, I said it. If you go full rebuild, the unfortunate part is this. You have to consider trading away Maxx Crosby. And I don't know if it's something that any of us here want to do, but if you really, truly want to go full rebuild, right, who's the one player that you could trade away that's getting up there in age that you'd be able to get, 2, maybe even 3 first-round picks for, and it's Max. And the contract that Max signed, again, it takes 2 to tango, but the deal that Maxx Crosby signed was essentially in the 2027 window, he could be dealt. Now, obviously, he could be dealt in 2026. I've had conversations with Max. I've had conversation with Max's team. And again, they keep it very, very real with me, I would say. And he doesn't want to be dealt. And I know that he doesn't want to be traded, but I actually think that this conversation really is going to come down to what Maxx Crosby wants to do after football. Because if Max stays in Las Vegas for his entire career, he's going to be part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you're part owner of an NFL team, you're going to be able to make way, way more money, and you're going to be a legend in a city for the rest of your life. And don't get me wrong, I think if Max left and he ended up coming back, he would still be a Raiders legend for life. Nobody's going to disagree with that statement. But also, like, how much of a legend? I do think it just drops down a little bit in terms of a tier. Again, I don't want to move on from Maxx Crosby, but if you told me we could get 3 first-round picks for the Condor, and in those 3 first-round picks, you told me that we get our franchise quarterback, an extra offensive lineman, and then let's just say another starting caliber player on the defensive side of the football, as much as it sucks to say it, where the Raiders are at right now, like, you have to entertain that conversation, and you have to entertain the conversation now more than ever, because we've never been more lost than what we are right now.
And we do have some more breaking news that from Chat Sports.
Really?
Mike Nintendo is in the chat right now, and we've failed to mention Mitch, number 1 on the new Chat Sports host rankings for our NFL channels.
I think that's bad. I think I've been there for 3 weeks.
Number 1, man.
Feels good. Also, some random Raiders news that just happened. The Raiders are signing cornerback Greedy Vance to the active roster. Additionally, the Raiders are waiving linebacker Jamin Davis and have released kicker Greg Joseph from the practice squad. So,
looks like
I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of surprised that they did that.
No compete.
I was just going to say, what happened to making Daniel Carlson compete? What happened to making a guy like Devin White compete? Because that guy was an absolute joke fest this past week. I'd rather have seen Jamin Davis go out there and play. But, again, that's what the Pete Carroll Raiders are going to do. Nothing that makes sense. So today's deals are as follows. This is the month of December. Again, Chugs celebrates Hanukkah. I celebrate Christmas. Whatever you celebrate, the month of December means we're so close to a season being over. And I hate saying it, but I can't wait for this Raiders season to be over. So this month, we're not going to give away one raffle item. We're going to give away 2 raffle items. I actually don't have them with me yet, but we are going to be giving away a signed Maxx Crosby helmet, and we're giving away a signed Maxx Crosby football. So this month, I figured if there's one player we can all talk about.
I wondered because it just said Maxx Crosby, and I was like, what is it?
Yeah, what's the raffle item? So this, at the end of the month of December, when we do our whole raffle spin, we're going to give 2 winners away. Because, again, if you're still watching this show in the month of December, then huge shout out to all of y'all. So $5 super chat, you get a raffle ticket. And if you are the first winner of the raffle, I'll let you pick which you'd rather have, either the Raiders helmet signed by Crosby or the Raiders football signed by Crosby. If you're a frustrated Raiders fan and you just need to let out a scream, we do it $20 super chat style. If you want to get Duck Race, $20 Venmo.
Do we need to change? Can you?
What? Oh, scream? I actually don't know. I haven't screamed in a long time. We'll give it a whirl. $100 banging a tweet. I don't know if I want to tweet out anything.
No, yeah, that's from last week.
And we'll just get rid of that. How about this, though? We'll give you let's do a special deal today. You send in $100 like Ventrack just did, I'm giving you 100 raffle tickets. 100 raffle tickets. The first bang of December. Ventrack. Bang! Uh-oh, I think I got my voice back. If you made a pie chart of who is to blame for this season, what percentage would give each name, including coaches and owners? Holy cow. How many pieces of pie do I get, Ventrack? I think you got to always put, I will say Pete Carroll deserves the biggest slice of pie to blame, and let's just say we give Pete 30% of that pie. I think Mark Davis deserves 29% of that other piece, right? And my problem what I'm about to do is try to do a bunch of mental math. But I think Tom Brady deserves to be on that pie. I think Mark Davis deserves to be on that pie. I think Pete Carroll deserves to be on that pie. I think Tom McMahon. I think Patrick Graham. I would say Gino Smith. I would say Brennan Carroll. You really have to look at all of the pieces from top to bottom of this team. And I think we also have to be able to face the facts here. When you are 2-10, And not only 2-10, but when you are truly, truly as dysfunctional that as we are right now from top to bottom, I mean, there's probably 100 names that we could put on that pie. You know what I mean? And it's just, I've never seen a team more lost. I've never seen a team more confused. I've never seen players more lost and confused. And that's even coming back from, I remember when I had players coming at me like, dude, you got to get Josh McDaniels out of here. I haven't had players tell me that yet. The moment that players start telling me that, I'll make a video on it. I got no problem doing it. I got no problem saying exactly what's on my mind, unlike a lot of our Raiders beat reporters out there. But there's so many people to blame, but I would say right now, this would actually be an interesting two in his top 5, Ben Thrack. I would say Pete Carroll's number 1 because he was hired to do a job. And I know people want to put blame on Mark, but Mark's the owner of a business, and he's just trying to put the right people in charge to do their thing. Pete Carroll's got to be number 1. I'm going to put Gino Smith somewhere on there. I'm going to put Chip Kelly somewhere on there. Tom Brady deserves to be on that list. And then as much as I want to say Spytek, he is the GM, but based on what I've heard, John Spytek has not been able to really be a very loud voice this season. So I think, though, I still got to probably put John Spytek on that list. It's probably those top 5, no doubt about it. Let's go to John Rodriguez. Mitch, right now I don't care about Pete Carroll or the team. I want to know how you're doing. Have you been able to release, what's funny? If anybody saw, one of the shows that I'm going to do today is going to be why I believe the Raiders are guaranteed to have a top 2 pick, and I'll kind of go through this show. But this is actually what I wanted to do on my Overreaction Monday video. And in the middle of that Monday overreaction video, Chugs can back me up on this. I got really close to getting sick on the video that I was doing, and I didn't want to get sick on the video. Also, I've been waiting for a week to kind of relieve myself. If it's TMI, it's TMI. And I literally made the thumbnail to that video sitting on the toilet. So, again, I do this show. I got no problem letting y'all know who I am behind the curtain, and it's why I think people really, truly enjoy this show. But I was really excited to be able to come to work today. I was really excited to be able to do today's show. But, again, to everybody that wished me nothing but love, to everybody that wished, me nothing but, health, I got so many recommendations on, how to relieve myself. It was actually hilarious. People were sending Alex messages. It was unbelievable. But, yesterday I called in sick from work. I did not work in the studio. We still put out 2 videos because I don't do this show for a paycheck. I do this show because I do truly love doing it. And, I think that people sometimes forget. We also started with 0 subscribers. And we've been able to get to this show to where we are because of the connection that we've been able to build as a fan base, as an audience. And it's why we're a community. But the reason why you should subscribe to the Raiders Report is because a guy right here like John Rodriguez, because of a guy like Venthrak, because of a Mount Raider member like John Scheffler, and it's because our voices can be heard together. And I really, really want that message to get across because when I was talking to a lot of those beat reporters yesterday, I don't think jealousy is the right word, but they were kind of jealous that we got to say whatever the hell we wanted on this program, and they told me that they're going to try to ask better questions. So I said, we'll see. I hope that there's better questions going forward. But, I know that I'm not the only frustrated Raiders fan, and I know that there's other frustrated people out there, but I do think when people watch this show, we can get that message out there. And I think we've been able to prove that so many times throughout the history of this program. What up, Chef? It's not that I don't think he deserves not to get fired. It's just who you going to take this job if you keep firing head coaches after 1 year. I think at the end of the day, if you can find a better option, you do it, right? Do you think that there's a better quarterback option out there than Gino Smith? I think the obvious answer to that is yes. And when I look at Pete Carroll as a head coach, I say with all due respect to Pete, and again, he's a legendary head coach, but Pete right now at 74 years old, I don't even think he's in the top 100 of living, breathing people that deserve to be a head coach right now in the National Football League. And everything that he did as a mistake with Seattle, he's literally doing it now, and it's times 10. And, last year I said I would hire Mike Vrabel. And I said I would hire Mike Vrabel because, in my opinion, he was a top 32 head coach. Does anybody here think that Pete Carroll's a top 32 head coach? I don't think anybody on God's green earth would say yes to that. So, yes, I get it. Mark keeps firing guys year after year. But when you keep failing at the rate that he's, failing, like Mark also looks at it as dollars and bills. If he keeps Pete Carroll and if they end up keeping Gino Smith, yes, I understand that, you save the money from that regard. But Mark Davis will lose so much more money through the course of a year if he keeps Pete Carroll and if he keeps Gino Smith. So I know how Mark thinks, and Mark's going to look at it a lot of times as the dollars and cents route, and by moving on from Pete and eating the money in Pete, by eating the money with Gino Smith and eating all the other money that is associated with all things to do with Pete Carroll, it's a lot of money. But the amount of money that Mark Davis will lose by keeping Gino Smith and by keeping Pete Carroll here, I actually don't even think it's close. I don't even think it's close. And I don't think that anybody here would disagree with that. I mean, you can't sell Raiders fans on Pete Carroll and Geno Smith next year. You can't do it. And if you do, Mark is going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. And that might not seem, again, he's a billionaire. Billions and billions of dollars in Mark Davis's pocket. So when you're talking about the amount of money that we're talking about here, I mean, again, would you... It's $10 to $2. I'm going to take the $10 route, which is why Pete and Gino are going to be gone. What up, Ryan? Genty for a 2026 first and a third-round pick. You're not going to get that for Genty. Bowers, a 2026 first and a second-round pick. I do think Bowers could honestly get that. I actually think teams might even be willing to give up 2 firsts for him. Crosby, a 2026 first and a second and a 2027 first. Would you do it? Hashtag 100% rebuild. I guess my only problem with this is why are you going to trade away Genty and Bowers when they're on a rookie contract? To me, yeah, you're going to get extra draft picks, and that's great and all, but Bowers is on a rookie deal. Genty's on a rookie deal. The only person that you would entertain the idea around is Crosby because he's not on a rookie contract. So I would not do the Genty. I would not do the Brock Bowers. I would entertain the idea for Maxx Crosby because, again, he's getting up there in age. He hasn't been as healthy as what we've seen in years past. People get mad at me for saying this, but when you look from a career standpoint, Maxx Crosby is having the worst year of his career from a pass rusher standpoint. He's the best. I think he's the best defensive end in the National Football League, stopping the run. The numbers prove that every single year. Again, he's tackles for losses. His win rate against the run is, I think he's number 1 in the NFL right now. But sooner or later, you got to sit back and go, we have one of the best players in the NFL on the defensive side of the football, and we have literally, absolutely, positively nothing to show for it. What the Raiders should do is get together with John Spytek, come up with a plan, and what is our plan on offense? I think when you have a guy like Brock Bowers and you have a guy like Ashton Genty and you have a guy like Jackson Powers-Johnson and you extended an offensive lineman like Colton Miller, I want to play FU football. So I want to upgrade that offensive line. You have a lot of pillar players. You have a lot more pillar players on cheap deals that are on your offensive side of the football. So I would try to really build on that offensive side of the football. Not saying that you totally ignore the defense, but I'm not moving on from Genty Bowers because I think that Genty Bowers, JPJ, Colton Miller really all complement each other for what type of offense I would try to run. Let's go to Rob O. What's up, bro? Please tell me we're looking for a young coach. I don't know what the Raiders are looking for, and
that's definitely what our video is.
One of the things that we'll talk about today on this, crazy coaching rumors that are out there is a lot of the coaches that I'm going to talk about today they're not young. They're really, truly not young. They've been in the NFL for multiple seasons. I personally want a young head coach, and I want a young head coach to build with John Spytek. But, the reason why I want that to happen the most and foremost is because I think John Spytek is actually a great football mind. And when you look at the front office that we've built, we actually have a lot of really smart front office personnel members, that have come from great trees from, Pittsburgh and Omar Khan, from, Howie Roseman in Philadelphia. We have a lot of really successful people in that front office. But when you hire a head coach like a Pete Carroll, when you give too much power to a John Gruden, when you give too much power to a Josh McDaniels, the head coach is the person that ends up making all those decisions, and you aren't allowing your front office to do their job. Good organizations allow their front office to do their job, and then head coaches do with what they're supposed to do, and that's coach the team. And Like, that's been one of the biggest Raiders' problems year after year after year. Mark goes for the whale. Mark looks for the big name instead of looking at what just makes the most sense. And what makes the most sense is allowing your GM to do his damn job. Let him do his damn job. What's up, Jeff? I'll tell you what. This Jeff guy, man, Seahawks fan, always here rocking with us. Mitch, I found the podcast for Seattle that you mentioned, and they're not as electrifying as you. I'll say this. I think everybody finds a different, route of how they're going to do their show. I think Will is actually one of the smartest guys that we have here in terms of a football mind for our Seahawks channel, and that's because he played, football at a high level. He's an offensive lineman, and I do think offensive linemen see the game from a very smart perspective overall. That's like what some people joke, like, oh, Mitch, you should be the head coach of the Raiders. You don't want me to be the head coach of the Raiders. Honestly, the guy that I would hire as a content creator to be head coach of the Raiders would be Sanjeet. You let me be the GM or let me be operate football operations. That way I can dissect talent to be able to add to this equation, because I don't know the X's and O's like a lot of those other guys do. And I'm not afraid to admit it, right? Like, the part of doing this show, and I think the part of being a great head coach, the part of running a really smart organization, is you got to have honest dialect. And you don't want me as an X's and O's guy. But I appreciate that you watch this show, but also give them a little bit of time, because I'll tell you this right now. Go back and watch my shows my first year. They're on Facebook. They're not on YouTube. But go back and watch my shows my first year or two. You got to get it going. You got to get your feet wet. You got to learn how this whole chat sports universe works. And nobody's made more shows for chat sports than probably me and our guy that does our Cowboys show, Tom. So, oh, wow, the BYU coach is staying. Oh, man, I thought he had potentially was going to go to Penn State. He's staying.
Crumble cookie wins out.
Crumble cookie ends up winning out. Do not eat crumble cookie. It's literally poison. Let's go to Jacob Holt. One question. If there was a possibility that Tomlin got fired, would you get rid of Pete for Tomlin? Also, was at the game Sunday, Gino is so bad in real life. I mean, Gino is bad in real life, on television. And, again, I don't know what's worse, his body language off the field or his play on the field. And, again, the offensive line stinks. But Gino Smith is just as bad as a quarterback as what the offensive line has been. And I will stand 10 toes on that, because he's just standing in a hula hoop. He's not moving in the pocket. He's just as much of a statue as Aiden O'Connell. And, I mean, that's a cold, hard fact. But all I'll say is this. We're going to talk about Mike Tomlin today, Jacob. And I don't want to give away what I want to discuss on one of my shows today, but I hope that you understand that I'm going to talk about Mike Tomlin in terms of, if I'd rather have him over Pete Carroll. But we're thinking, you probably have seen some of the rumors out there. You've probably seen some of the stories as well. I'll just say it like this. I would love to have a head coach that has never had a losing season in 17 years. Being 500 right now, sounds about as good as you could get. Because being in a 2-10 season, dude, holy shit, man. Let's go to Buckeye Raider. What's up? Mitch Chugs, are we so bad? Oh, we are so bad. What's the chances we get a good, young, offensive-minded coach, make a case for us to win one over, why they should come? Oh, man. It's a tough question. I'm not going to lie to you. To me, if I'm a young head coach, I think the number one thing that you would do is you would say, we're going to do something that we haven't done in a really, really long time. And I do think, when you look at a guy like Brock Bowers, you look at a guy like Ashton Genty, you do look at JPJ, you look at Colton Miller, and you look at a guy like Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, Dante Thornton Jr. If you're a good offensive-minded coach, you're going to be able to figure out this offense and get the offense going. I actually think way quicker than you're going to be able to get the defense going, because we need a lot of pieces on the defensive side of the football. Luckily, though, you got number 98 on defense who's like a player coach and could really, really get it going. But the number one selling point that I would say to a young guy is this. If you have the opportunity to work with Tom Brady, and if you can be the person that gets the Raiders on the right track, I mean, you're going to be, again, when I hear people talk about the Raiders greats, right? The Tom Floreses, the John Maddens, again, we're talking all-time great coaches, right? I mean, you sit there and you're going to be in that conversation. And when you have the opportunity to be a part of an organization that's also, gaining a lot of traction in terms of the dollar bills, the Raiders are a team right now that they are gaining traction, more and more money. They keep it going. That's my selling point to them. And maybe it's not the best selling point, but I think the other selling point is with a young offensive-minded guy is you can go get your quarterback. And, that's how I would sell him. Because to me, no matter what, the Raiders are going to have a top 2 pick, and I'm going to prove it today on the Raiders Report. But I think as a young offensive-minded coach, you go to bed hoping and dreaming that you get to work with somebody like Tom Brady, that you get the opportunity to be with a smart front office led by John Spytek, a smart guy like Brian Stark. You can say what you want, but our assistant GM, Brian Stark, is a really smart guy. Brandon Hunt comes from the Howie Roseman tree. Stark also comes from the Omar Khan tree. We have a lot of really, really smart guys in that front office. You got a great running back in Ashton Genty. You have the best tight end in the National Football League in Brock Bowers. And you're going to have $115 million in salary cap space. That's top 3 salary cap. 10 overall draft picks to be able to work with. 2 wide receivers that we drafted in the top 4. 2 linemen that we drafted in the top 3. And then you're going to be able to go out and pick your quarterback. I hope that answers your question, but that's how I would try to sell him. What's up, Jeff? Mitch, you catch my previous message. Yeah, I got you, bro. I got you. Nick, what's up, Nick? How do you feel about Kingsbury as head coach? Also, here's to my wife and I welcoming 2 baby girls into the world on Friday. So we're doing, Chuck's had to step out real quick. So every $5 super chat is a raffle ticket to get signed Maxx Crosby gear. So you said welcoming 2 baby girls into the world. I'm guessing that's twins? My mom was a twin. My aunt was a twin. I actually have three sets of twins in my mom's side of the family. Alex is scared to death that she's going to pop out twins. So if you could, Cullen, if you could put Nick down for 3 raffle entries there for the 2 baby girls. Dude, I'll tell you this, man. You got your hands full. You probably already know it. It's probably why you're doing this right now in your profile picture. I can't wait to be a dad. And I still want to be able to wait, several years. I'm at the point where I think I'm a lot more ready than what Alex is. I also am older than my wife. But this past week, being able to hang out with my best friend Joe, he was my college roommate for 4 years. He was the best man at my wedding. His baby, her name is Olivia. She's the sweetest baby girl. She was super sweet. She's 8 months old. And, dude, I'll tell you this right now. Uncle Mitch was in a mental pretzel because I could barely say no to her, so I can't even imagine, saying no to my own kids. But congratulations to you and to your wife. In terms of Cliff Kingsbury, I'm not really interested in Cliff, and I know that might surprise some people, but I think hiring Cliff Kingsbury is kind of just like hiring Josh McDaniels all over again because I think that some people are just made to be offensive coordinators. I mean, look what Josh is doing right now with Drake May. Told y'all Drake May was going to be good. Look what he's doing with Drake May right now in New England, and it's because Josh McDaniels, when you give him too much power, he's not a leader of men. And I think Cliff Kingsbury is kind of the exact same way. And, again, to me, Cliff had a verbal agreement with the Las Vegas Raiders, and then he backed out of it. I kind of understand why he backed out of it. He wanted this guy, Jaden Daniels. Once he found out that he wasn't going to get Jaden, also the years of the contract, they didn't align for what he was looking for. So I get it. And, it's also shame on the Raiders to say, we're going to hire Cliff Kingsbury before you even sign him to the dotted line. I mean, that's just another example of how poorly run the organization is. But I think the Raiders falling into a trap, this would be a trap of, why am I going to bring in a guy that I don't think is a leader of men? I do think he's a great offensive-minded coach, but to me, I'm just not interested in Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach because I think he's just built to be an offensive coordinator, like Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is another great example. I don't think he's built to be a head coach, but you find that guy to call X's and O's for you on offense, hell yeah, man. Sign me up for that every single day of the week. Scheffler, what's up, my brother? Mitch, I'm not saying you're wrong, but who is going to take this job if you're not going to fire them after 1 year? I think if you're a guy taking on this job, the reason why I want to hire a young, innovative head coach is because I do think if opportunities in the National Football League to be a head coach, they don't come all that often. What do you say? I mean, Chuck said there's only 32 of them. And, you look at this year, the Giants are going to have a job. I think the Falcons are going to end up firing Raheem Morris, but they don't even have a first-round pick. The Jets are maybe going to be looking for a new head coach. I'm not 100% sure. I think that they are going to be looking for a new guy. But if you're, an up-and-coming offensive-minded guy, what is your window to be able to succeed right now? Because I'd also say this. We're talking about Pete being a disaster, and Pete was a disaster. And I just saw somebody say, we got to get rid of Tom Brady. Let's give Tom Brady a little bit of credit. His top two people that he wanted to hire for this job, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel. I'd say both of those two guys right now are doing a pretty kick-ass job, if I do say so myself. So I think it's opportunity, right? Like, there's not many opportunities to be the head coach of an NFL football team. And if you're a young guy and wants to make his name and wants to make his legacy with an organization, I think you go balls to the wall for that opportunity. And, again, like, I get it that we look at this as not being a very attractive job, but I also say if I'm a young head coach and I got a lot of confidence in myself and I get an Ashton Genty, a Brock Bowers, I get to go pick my own quarterback, I get 10 draft picks, I get $115 million in salary cap space, I get to work with Tom Brady, I get to bring in all of my own guys because they're going to bring in a new OC, they're going to bring in a new DC, and there's not many teams that really truly get that opportunity to bring in their entire staff that they're looking for. Now, again, to me, the more and more people I talk to, the one name that I hear probably more than any name is Jesse Minter. And I don't know if that's just because of his Michigan ties with Spytek and Brady. And, he's a defensive-minded coach. You can kind of steal him away. But Minter's the name that I've been hearing a lot just in the last few weeks. Let's go to John Rodriguez. I've heard that if Tomlin gets fired, Raiders should definitely go after Tomlin. So, again, we're going to talk about this today. You're not the only person that has brought this up. And, to me, it's an interesting situation because you could hire a guy like Mike Tomlin, right? I think it would be a lot like hiring a guy like Mike McCarthy. So, because to me, Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy are top 32 head coaches in the NFL. I don't know how you say that they're not. And I get it. Like the Steelers fans, they probably want to move on from Tomlin. But if you hire a guy like Tomlin, you hire a guy like Mike McCarthy, that's where you try to see, can I get a Mike McDaniel to be my OC? Can I get I don't know, maybe a Mike LaFleur who doesn't call plays for the Rams. Maybe he'd want to call plays here for the Las Vegas Raiders. Like that's where you go out and you entertain some of those ideas and some of those names. But we're going to talk about Mike Tomlin today, so I don't want to give away too much. What up, Jeff? Chris Shula, Clint Kubiak, sick of retreads. Not going to lie, I did not read retreads. The first time that I said that, I almost threw out a really bad word that I hate. But I would love Chris Shula. Young, innovative defensive mind, comes from the Sean McVay tree. This is actually somebody that I brought up in my Pete Carroll replacement video that I did a few weeks ago. And Clint Kubiak. Right now, if you were to tell me my top three candidates, I'd say Minter, Shula, Clint Kubiak are my top three. Kubiak for offense, Shula and Minter on the defensive side of the football. Let's go to the next one. What up, John? Look at the last 25 years of coaches. We have hired it, ain't because we don't want good coaches. Nobody wants this job because we keep going through this vicious cycle. We couldn't maybe get Mike or Ben Johnson because of this bullshit. With all due respect, I hear what you're saying, but I also think Mike Vrabel looked at his situation and he said, I got a really good young quarterback in Drake May. That's the job I'm going to take. Also, Mike Vrabel played for the New England Patriots. Like, Mike Vrabel had a heart for New England because that was an organization that drafted him. So, like, I don't think it's because the Raiders were shit. I think Mike Vrabel felt that he was a Patriot, felt like he had a good quarterback in Drake May. I think the same thing could be said about Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson looked at the situation and he was like, do I want to work with Caleb Williams or do I want to work with, I don't know, at quarterback? I think the quarterback position is the determining factor. And if the Raiders have an opportunity, like if the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick, and you can go out and get Fernando Mendoza, because I just listened to an interview the other day with Mendoza, and the way that guy talks, the way that he plays, the way that he carries himself, that's the quarterback that I want. I want Fernando Mendoza to be the Las Vegas Raiders quarterback in 2026, and I think if you have the opportunity to do that, a coach is going to want to go work with him. the reason why teams are passing on the Raiders year after year after year and why you look at the past 25 years, we haven't had a quarterback. Like we had Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is by far the best quarterback that this team has had in the last, I can't say 25 years because Rich Gannon's in that equation. He won, an NFL MVP. But I actually think you're overthinking a little bit. I mean, tell me what, as a head coach, I want to work with a good quarterback. Good NFL teams have good quarterbacks at the helm. So, we just haven't had a good quarterback. And I can't blame a head coach for picking Caleb Williams over Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. I can't blame Mike Vrabel for picking Drake May over Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. And I get it. Now we have Gino Smith, but I think good head coaches are smart. And good head coaches are going to pick the team that's got the best quarterback. And I think that's what happened last year way, way more than them just not picking the Raiders. Jersey Boy Greaser, what's going on, my brother? Head coach target should be Clint Kubiak, Joe Brady, Brian Flores, pair Dable with them at OC. Who else would you want? Again, I would say, Jersey Boy, just go check out my Pete Carroll head coach replacement video. I have a bunch of offensive-minded guys. I got a bunch of defensive-minded guys. And every person that you mention here is in my video. Every person that you mention here is in my video. And, again, to me, it's got to come down, what's the plan, right? What's the plan? If you go out and get Clint Kubiak, you're going to draft a quarterback in round one. You go get Joe Brady, you're going to draft a quarterback in round one. If you go out and you get a guy like Brian Flores, well, then wait a minute. I actually like the idea a lot more of trying to build in the trenches. Maybe you trade back, try to accumulate a few more picks. Let your defensive-minded coach really try to build that defense overall. But again, you have to come up with a plan, and the plan has to make sense. Because what you can't do is you can't draft Ashton Genty, number 6 overall, and do absolutely nothing to the offensive line. That's a shit plan from the start. Jacob Hope, what's going on, my brother? Once we get through all the super chats here on today's program, we will get into the very first segment on today's show. And to me, my favorite shows to do here on the Raiders Report are what you're watching right now. Keep the questions coming. Keep them flowing in here. And every time you send in a super chat, $5, you're going to be entered in for a chance to win a signed. Oh, wait. The Texans have waived veteran offensive guard Laken Tomlinson. You already did that? Okay. All right. Shout out to Chugs. You already did it. Also, one more thing. Being at the game Sunday, you get to watch the sideline. Gino just sits in the corner on the bench, no tablet, nothing. Everyone's standing and watching. He just sits there. It's pathetic. Again, this is actually something that I have seen. Body language is a big thing for me, right? And I used to say it all the time. Josh McDaniels never going to be a good head coach because he's not a leader of men. Gino Smith is not a leader of men, and he also has no interest in being a leader on this team. And, again, I've had Gino Smith family members, whatever you want to call them, tell me, Gino doesn't want to be a part of this organization anymore. I see it. You see it. His play suggests it. But it's that body language on the side. I don't see Gino Smith trying to get better. He can say that he's going to do all the things in the offseason. He's going to do all the things during practice during the week. But my eyeballs tell me every single week that Gino Smith doesn't give a flying flip about his job security here with the Raiders. He looks like a guy who got paid, who got lazy, and now doesn't give a shit. I think he honestly thought he was going to be able to show up and be a lot better. We all thought he was going to be a lot better. And, I do think you learn a lot about a man when things get tough. I want to see a guy that sacks up and tries to go out there and battle. But I had a member here. You guys know him. If he's here in the chat, I don't know. But he messaged me, and he was, he's a military guy. And he's like, if our sergeant, actually, I don't know if that's the right word. Essentially what this person told me was like, if we were out in the battlefield, nobody would have that guy's back. And I don't think anybody does have Geno Smith's back right now. I still, from what I understand, from the players that I've talked to, from the agents that I've talked to, Geno is still like a well-liked guy in that locker room. But I also don't know if he's a well-liked guy or if it's more like there's nobody more important in the head coach's eyes than Geno Smith. So is Geno Smith just like the spoiled little brat kid that all the other kids are afraid to be mean to because he knows he's going to go run to daddy, and if he runs to daddy, then everybody else is going to get in trouble? Have you ever worked for a boss that you're like, man, this boss is an asshole, but I can't be mean to that boss because he's my boss? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like, I feel like the whole Gino Smith situation. Let's go to Lovato Dog Services. Shout out to all the AOC believers. He's our quarterback one, and I'm 10 toes down on it. Fire Pete, new head coach, and focus building around him. I'll say this right now, you will never get a good head coach if you want to build around Aiden O'Connell. If you told a new head coach, hey, we're going to go into this season and Aiden O'Connell's going to be the quarterback, you actually probably will get stuck with Pete Carroll again because there's not going to be anybody that takes that job. And I think Aiden is a stand-up human being. I love being able to root for Aiden O'Connell, but he's also on the final year of his contract. So, like, you know, again, if I'm a new head coach, I don't want to work with a quarterback as limited as Aiden O'Connell, somebody who's just, again, clearly not a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. I love Aiden. Again, like, I hate when people think, like, I don't like Aiden O'Connell. I do like Aiden O'Connell. But the reason why people say that I don't like Aiden is because of this, right? Like, again, with all due respect, he's not even close to being a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I want a good head coach. And you're not going to get a good head coach. You're not going to get a good offensive coordinator if you're going to roll with Aiden O'Connell. And, again, he's a really good backup. And Aiden's on that final year of his contract, and I'm telling you this, you go out and you get a Fernando Mendoza, and you let Aiden O'Connell, Fernando Mendoza compete, and you let that quarterback learn from somebody like Aiden, dude, that is a great recipe for success because Aiden is clearly a very intelligent quarterback because you don't get to the NFL, I would say, with Aiden O'Connell's skill set without being an extremely intelligent quarterback, right? Like, there's not many quarterbacks that I think I could outrun in a race. No, I actually know I can't outrun Aiden. Not anymore. Back in my heyday, back in college, I could. What up, Goots? I hope Pete and Brennan are gone before they can ship off JPJ. I mean, luckily, the trade deadline's over. And, you know, the conversations that are going to start to being had are, and the reason why you quickly move on from Pete Carroll and everything that has to do with Pete Carroll as soon as this season is over is because of something like this. And, you know, you don't want them to get rid of players that are good players here for this organization. You want players that are clearly going in the right motion. And I'll say this, like, one of the very first questions that I would ask our new offensive line coach, one of the very first questions that I would ask our new OC whenever it happens, our new head coach when it happens is, will JPJ play center? If that coach looks and says, no, I'm going to have a problem with it. If he says it's on the table and he's got to earn that job, perfect, because the problem, again, with Pete Carroll is the stubbornness. Imagine telling the 2023 Remington winner, the best center in college football, that they don't think he's good enough to play center. And yet they think Alex Kappa, Will Putnam, and Jordan Meredith are better. There's a reason why the last 4 weeks the Raiders have allowed 26 sacks. It's because JPJ is not there on the interior. And I get it, Colt Miller's not there either. But, you got to move on from so many different pieces. And I'm super confident, and I mean it when I say it. I'm very confident Pete Carroll's not going to be the head coach, and it's just because of all the smoke right now, everything that is being communicated, and, again, some of the conversations I had literally yesterday with a few Raiders beat reporters. I don't think Pete's going to be back because they already know you're not going to be able to sell the fans on Pete Carroll and Gino Smith, and Pete's going to live and breathe with Gino Smith. Mitch, shout out to a Raiders therapy show. Mitch, what would you be your preferred pairing? Joe Brady? Okay, quarterback Moore. LaFleur and Mendoza. Shula and Simpson. LaFleur and Mendoza. And, again, to me, that's only because out of the quarterbacks that you mentioned there, I just believe in Mendoza the most, and I will bet money on who I believe more is a quarterback prospect than who necessarily you're going to pair him with. I think Shula and LaFleur are both really solid because they come from that Sean McVay tree. I actually think if you would have made this more interesting for me, if you would have swapped LaFleur, put him with Moore, and put Joe Brady with Mendoza, that would have made it a little bit more challenging for me. But I will take LaFleur and Mendoza. And that's just because, again, I'm a Mendoza believer. This guy's got it up here. And one of the things that we need in our next quarterback, because you look at a lot of those guys, I think Aiden O'Connell is more successful than Gardner Minshew was because Aiden O'Connell has it way up here more than what Gardner Minshew did. Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think he has it up here, and he wasn't mentally tough enough to be able to handle Raider Nation. If there's one person, again, we got to give more credit to, it is probably to Derek Carr, because Derek was able to, year in and year out, he definitely had his ups and downs. But look at Gino Smith, not mentally tough enough to be able to handle Raider Nation. And we're a tough fan base to be able to deal with. But also, I think we're allowed to be a tough fan base to deal with. When you have 23 years of no playoff wins, yeah, man, I mean, you're going to get mad. I mean, imagine having a girlfriend for 23 years. Year 24, she's going to want to get proposed to. No. What was the stat?
The stat that I told everybody earlier.
Yeah.
Tom Brady never took a snap.
Oh, I did hear this.
Where his team wasn't in playoff contention. He never took a snap where his team was eliminated from the playoffs.
I mean, that's bonkers, man. And that's, but again, that's Tom Brady is another example of, he's not somebody with all these crazy athletic abilities. He's just a phenomenal leader. And when I look at Mendoza and I hear the way Mendoza talks and the program that he helped build at Indiana and what Tom Brady said he looks for in a quarterback, I mean, I think it's literally Mendoza. And I am a really, really strong believer that the Raiders are going to go in for Mendoza this year. And holy shit, man, I hope that they do. I hope that they do. Ah! Dirty Mike and the boys. I really think the Raiders should make Seahawks offensive coordinator Kubiak our next head coach. He has a chance to draft a quarterback with our team this coming season, and I love what he's done as a coordinator. Dirty Mike and the boys, I agree with you. I think Kubiak would be a good hire. And when you see the type of offense that Kubiak likes to run, Kubiak has done a phenomenal job with the offensive line. Kubiak does a phenomenal job using his tight ends. Kubiak does a phenomenal job with his running back. Again, to me, I look at the style of team that I want the Raiders to be with Ashton Genty, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Colton Miller, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, throw him in there, get a little bit of Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, Dante Thornton. I think with good coaching, we have a lot more pieces to work with than what people realize. And again, Dante's got a lot of room to grow, and there's no doubt he needs to grow a lot more. But you get a guy that can work a little bit of play action. You get a guy that can run, I don't want to call it West Coast offense because it can always change, but Kubiak's going to get that play action game going. And Mendoza's, I think, that perfect pro-style quarterback to be able to work with Kubiak. Again, there are a lot of coaches that I would take, but there's also so many. If I did a show on how many head coaches I would want over Pete Carroll, it would be the top 100 coaches I'd rather have than Pete Carroll. It would be a 100-minute show. Let's go to the OC Raider. What's up, my brother? Were the Rams an attractive job before McVay? Sadly, I actually don't 100% remember what that job necessarily looked like.
It was Jeff Fisher.
So Jeff Fisher was there before, and then McVay took over.
Jeff Fisher was
Jeff Fisher was literally 7-9, 8-8.
Yeah, he was Tomlin before Tomlin.
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher was just 8-8 every single season.
I mean, Tomlin, though, again, he never had a losing record. Jeff Fisher was 7-9. I actually don't remember, but I think McVay is the perfect example of.
They just moved to L.A., too.
They just moved to L.A. He was 32 years old, but he showed he was young and innovative and was a very smart head coach. It's why people get mad at me. I would trade Maxx Crosby right now, straight up, for Sean McVay.
And the thing is, as well,
I would.
At the end of the day, if we're talking about the top, Ben Johnson, every team wanted him. So, yes, he was able to turn down teams. A lot of times, like we said, there's only 32 jobs. Imagine if you wanted a job and there was only 32 of them in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's a NFL head coaching position. It is very attractive.
I mean, I think the Dallas Cowboys are an interesting situation because you got to give some credit to Brian Schottenheimer. I did not think Brian Schottenheimer was going to be a good hire for Dallas, and that team's kind of rallying around him. I almost wonder if the Raiders would have kept Rich Bisaccia, if the Raiders would kind of be doing what the Cowboys are doing this year, because that team's rallying behind Schottenheimer. Also, Jerry went, kind of ballsy with some of those trades, going out and getting Quinnen Williams and, doing all the moves that they did during the NFL trade deadline. But again, man, like NFL head coaching jobs don't grow on trees, and people can hate Tom Brady all they want, but Tom Brady, I would say, is probably the number one respected football person in the world. Again, is that a crazy statement to make? Like, I think if you were to ask everybody on the planet, if you could meet one person in the NFL from the history of the NFL that's still alive today, who would you want to meet? I would imagine Tom Brady's going to be on a lot of those lists because he is the greatest NFL player of all time. Bro, I'll tell you, I'd love to meet Mike Allstott. That mother effer could hit some people, man. That guy's. I don't even know what he would play in today's game. He's more of a linebacker now than a fullback.
He's the most Raider player that never played for this organization.
Mike Allstott, dude, could lay the wood. Real cowboy. I've said it before. Pete Carroll is the guy who didn't hand the ball to Lynch in the Super Bowl on the goal line. We are seeing more and more of this type of decision-making as the year goes on. Pete Carroll and his family have got to go. I actually don't even really look at like the play on the goal line all that much. And it's because, like, again, you have to be a great head coach to even get to that point in the Super Bowl. You got to be a great head coach to get to the Super Bowl. And, you know, he didn't go with his guy and Marshawn, and I'm sure he kicks himself in the you-know-what every single day. I look at more of just what Pete Carroll did in that final year when he was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks and how tough it would have been for Seattle to say, hey, Pete, it's time for you to step down. And there was a lot of rumors at that time that Pete was cooked and that Schneider was the guy calling all the shots and that Schneider deserved to call a lot more of the shots. And I just look at where the Seahawks are at now and where the Raiders are at now. And again, like, it's just like anything. It can pass you by. And, you know, I'm sure when I'm up here doing this show, like, if I'm up here doing this show when I'm 74 years old, I bet you there's going to be some people being like, Mitch, dude, it's probably time to hang it up a little bit. And you're probably right, because I'm not going to know how to work, I don't know, maybe the new feature that's out there, right? Like, I already struggle with TikTok. Like, I know how YouTube works. I know how Instagram works. I know how Twitter works. If there were to be a brand new platform that would just pop up overnight and I would have to learn it at 74 years old, I would have a hard time doing that. And again, the Pete Carroll Raiders just look like a team that's in the Stone Age. And when you're this bad, again, on all the levels, and players are showing this much regression, it's because you're just bad at your job. And yeah, Pete's a legendary head coach, but it's clearly time to move on. Seahawks fan, please don't take Kubiak from us. Again, I'm not going to have to take Kubiak from you, but Kubiak ain't staying in Seattle. I guarantee you that. He's going to get a head coaching job. Jersey boy, skipping my super chat.
We went back to it.
I was gonna say, I don't think that we did skip it.
It happened whenever me and Colin switched.
We showed
and then
it.
I accidentally switched it, and then I saw him super that, so then I went back to it.
I got you, Jersey boy. Yeah, just, again, if you see us, just say it in the comments. You don't got to send in another one. Let's go to shit funny. If Baltimore fires John Harbaugh,
not happening.
How do you feel about two Harbaughs in the West?
They started off the year horrible, and now the Ravens are leading the AFC North.
Again, I know the Ravens just lost this past week, but I think if you're the Baltimore Ravens, it's kind of like you do get to a point where you kind of just get fed up and you do want change. And there has been some rumors that Baltimore could move on from Harbaugh. I would love the idea of potentially adding John Harbaugh as head coach here. And again, because I look at John Harbaugh and I would say he's a top 32 head coach in the NFL. You know, like the same reason why I wanted to hire Mike Vrabel, the same reason why I'd be okay with Mike McCarthy, the same reason why I'd be okay with, probably Mike Tomlin is because they're top 32 head coaches in the NFL. Like, they are.
I still don't think that would be wild if they got rid of Harbaugh.
I agree it would be wild, and I actually don't think it'd be fair to him because of all the injuries they had this season. Like, they were legit. I think at one point this season, they had 20 Pro Bowlers on the on the injury report.
Whenever they played the Texans this year, 6 of their starting defensive players were out. They also had Lamar Jackson and 2 linemen out. 9 starters in total missed the Texans game. This was like week 4. Week 5. Yeah.
Yeah, again, like, to me, I still think that the Baltimore Ravens win that division. I don't think the Steelers are going to win that division. The Bengals would be really interesting with Joe Burrow being back, but like
They already have 8 losses, though.
oh, I know, but they're 2 games out.
Yeah.
5 games. Again, like to me, like real quick, if the Ravens make the playoffs, Ravens schedule, you got the Steelers. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, this is tough schedule. Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. If you make the playoffs, I don't know how you fire them. And I know like the team like the Baltimore Ravens is probably like, well, we can't get by Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes might not be in the playoffs this season. Like you have an opportunity to get to that next level, and I don't think many people want to face John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry in January. I don't think so. Raider Mitch. What's up, Raider Mitch? I live in Seattle, was not a fan of the Pete hire. Signing Gino was terrible. Bring in Minter. Dable is OC. Minter can build the defense. Let Dable find his quarterback. Spend money on an offensive line like the Bears. I think this is a great recipe for success. I do. And again, Dable might not be the most popular name right now because of everything going on with the Giants. And I don't know if y'all heard the press conference today with the New York Giants. I wish Pete Carroll and Gino Smith had to deal with the New York media because the New York media, they're not afraid of anybody. They're going to come for your throat, right? Like, they ask real questions where, again, our Raiders beat reporters, I think, are afraid to ask the tough questions because they're afraid that some of their access is going to be taken away, which, again, shame on Mark Davis for even doing it. But, like, I do think this would be a good recipe for success because I think Brian Dable has shown you that he can build a quarterback and he's a smart offensive-minded coach. But I do think that, again, he's somebody that's probably just an offensive coordinator in the National Football League. Because when you give a guy too much power, it's not always as much success as you want. What up, Chef? You miss my point. That's why we're not getting head coaches because we don't put ourselves in position for a job that people want to coach for. I mean, so I guess are you saying like next offseason? Because I actually look at the Raiders next offseason and I think it's an attractive job. I think you have a top 2 pick in the NFL draft. You have 10 draft picks. You have an opportunity to go get your quarterback. Like as a new young head coach that's trying to build my legacy, I think that this Raiders job is an attractive job if you can go out and get your own quarterback. Again, it's a tough division, no doubt about it, but besides the fact that the Raiders have been atrocious, and I get it, like they have been atrocious, but if I'm a young head coach, and again, like the number one thing for a new young head coach to do to keep his job is to draft a young quarterback. Because when you draft a young quarterback and you tie that young guy to yourself, you don't just fire that guy and then move on. Now, I get it. It's what the Bears did. I get it. It's what New England did, but I do not think that it makes – I don't think that this Raiders job is as bad as what people think, in all honesty. Yeah, there's a lot to be able to work with. Or there's a lot to have to grow, right? Like we need, I'd say, like 11 starters on offense and defense. But I think the biggest problem that we've had is you hire Josh McDaniels. He goes out and gets his own guy. You go out, even look at John Gruden. They tried to do a full-on rebuild. But the quarterback at the time, they thought Derek Carr was going to be the Derek Carr quarterback that we saw in 2016. Derek just never was able to get back to his original self. And then same thing, like AP couldn't get his quarterback. They wanted to get Jaden Daniels. That didn't work. This past year, Pete Carroll goes out and he gets his old buddy in Gino Smith. A lot of times when you bring in some older head coaches, they bring in a bunch of their older guys to recreate what they did in the past. I don't want to recreate what we did in the past. So I don't know if I'm missing your point still. I feel like we're hitting it on the head here, but again, you keep saying that I'm missing it. So I don't think that this Raiders job is what's bad as what people are saying because we have a lot of good pieces we have a lot of young pieces on rookie contracts on the offensive side of the football. And if you're a young offensive-minded guy, you can go draft his own quarterback, 10 draft picks, top 3 money in salary cap space. I don't think that that's a bad job to have. Trade for Derek Carr as a bridge. Draft a quarterback in the first. Terrible idea. Again, why would I pay a quarterback like Derek Carr $50 million to be a bridge, right? Like, you have a good bridge quarterback, at least a learning quarterback. His name's Aiden O'Connell. If you draft Mendoza, let's get him out there and let's get it popping. That's how I'd say it. Rob, build around Genty, JPJ, Bowers, Trey, Miller, and Max. Yes. Yes, I agree with you, man. There are good players on this team. And I think what's sad is people don't realize that there are good players on this team because of how badly coached we are. Like, we got coaches put Maxx Crosby at linebacker. Like, it's hard for certain guys to look like they're talented players when your coaches are just a disgrace. And that's what this Raiders coaching staff is right now. It's a flipping disgrace. Nick Sanchez, Mike Tomlin is the Derek Carr of head coaches. You can't say it. Again, that's not fair to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has won a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin has multiple playoff wins. Like, Derek Carr has never won a playoff game. I would encourage you to find a better example. Will always win enough to look good, but can never get the postseason. Mike Tomlin has won a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin has won playoff games. I see what you're saying because of late, the Steelers haven't been able to be that team that gets over the hump. But I also think it's because when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think that they are building their team necessarily the right way. And that's been a team that since Ben Roethlisberger has left, they have struggled to find that quarterback. And when you have a good quarterback, it's a lot harder to plan for that guy in November, in December. And I think the problem with Tomlin has been they've been good in the first half of the season. It's basically just like John Gruden, right? Like, John Gruden was really good in the first half of the season. And then when you don't have a great quarterback, teams figure you out. And that's kind of what's happened to Tomlin over and over again. But, he's won a lot of games. He's been able to build good defenses. What up, Jason? Trade back, get more picks, build Team Manning. Gross. There's no way, how could anybody want Arch Manning? How, again, 2027 AOC, he's not on the team. Next year is the final year of Aiden O'Connell's contract, and he's not going to come back. So, I don't see why anybody and how anybody would want Arch Manning. If you want to build for 2027, his name's C.J. Carr, and that's the quarterback that the Raiders like. That's the quarterback that I've been told by multiple sources that has Tom Brady's eye. If they are actually going to build for 2027, again, but that means you got to tank again in 2026 because the only way you're getting C.J. Carr in 2027 is if you're a top 3 pick. Because I think C.J. Carr is the number 1 overall pick in the 2027 NFL Draft. What up, Bronny? I believe the Raiders could potentially go ahead and get that young offensive-minded coach and pair him with Sellers from South Carolina. I like Sellers. To me, Sellers isn't really a quarterback that I want to look at in the first round anymore. He's probably somebody that I would look to target a little bit more in the second round. So if you were the Raiders, you go best player available in round 1. Maybe you trade back in round 1, get a few more draft picks, and then look to add Sellers and try to, again, play this little bit of a FU style of football. But if, there's a part of me where instead of going out and drafting Sellers, I'd rather trade a 5th-round pick for Jalen Milroe because I would say that the Seattle Seahawks feel pretty damn confident in Sam Darnold. And not that I don't like Sellers, but I think you got to draft Sellers. Would you agree with this? And, let me know down in the chat. Would you rather draft Sellers in round 1 or round 2? Or would you rather trade a 4th and a 5th for Jalen Milroe? I personally would rather trade a 4th and a 5th for Jalen Milroe. Toby, what's up, Toby? Where do you rank Patrick Graham in the Pete Carroll replacement list? Take care of yourself, man. Don't let this bad year ruin your health. Patrick Graham is not on that list at all. And it's because he won't be considered for the job, and it's also because Patrick Graham will not be a part of the Raiders organization in the year 2026. I'm telling y'all that right now. The Raiders are going to clean house. They're going to bring in a whole bunch of new coaches. But one of the biggest reasons why Patrick Graham won't be back is because one of the selling points the Raiders will use for that new young head coach that they bring in, or for whoever that they bring in, is you get to bring in your own staff. So Patrick Graham is not on that show because he's not going to be considered. And I do think Patrick Graham is a good coach, but I could see Patrick Graham landing in New York. I could see PG getting another defensive coordinator job just somewhere else. I don't know where exactly, but it won't be with the Raiders. What up? Yeah? Okay. Sounds good. Yep. Kent, what's up, Kent? If we get the number 1 pick, what coach does that draw the most interest? I think it just draws the most interest of who wants Mendoza or whatever coach that you are looking at. Like, again, like you got to fall in love with a guy. And like that's how I would look at it. Like if I were to be in the process, I would hire the coach that says, I want to draft Mendoza. Like, you could have, like, we could be sitting up here saying all we want, like, oh, Clint Kubiak's the guy. If Clint Kubiak looked me dead in the eyes and he goes, I want Ty Simpson over Mendoza, I go, thank you for your time here, Clint. I'm gonna go to somebody else, though. Like, I would look for the head coach that looks me in the eyes and goes, with the number 1 pick, I would take Mendoza. And I go, all right, you're going to go in a different pile, and you're going to be somebody that I consider. But I think the other part that the Raiders really, truly got to do that I don't think a lot of times like people realize is if you get your guy in the building, right? Let's just say their number 1 candidate is Clint Kubiak. And Clint Kubiak in that interview looks at Tom Brady, Mark Davis, John Spytek, and goes, with the number 1 pick, I'm taking Eric Mendoza. I'm taking Mendoza. I don't know why I said Eric. I think actually we got a viewer here who's Eric Mendoza. I'm taking Fernando Mendoza. You look at that person, you go, you're going to be the next Raiders head coach. And you're not technically allowed to do it because, you got to go through the other process, but it happens every single year in the National Football League. You let that guy, when he walks into that room, you don't let him leave. You do all your other interviews, you do all your other stuff, but you have your guy targeted, and when he walks in that room, you don't let him leave without a contract. Dodgers had more wins in November than the Raiders. Yeah. There was a lot of teams that had more wins probably in November than the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the last game they won was what? Tennessee. That was October. 0 wins in November. Not good. Garth, off the wall, do you think Ryan Fitzpatrick would make a good offensive coordinator? I do not. If you wanted to go this route, I actually think the guy that you would consider is Josh McCown. Like, again, if we're just talking about an old veteran quarterback that's got a trendy name, Josh McCown has actually done some good stuff as a quarterback coach. Again, comes from a smart tree. And if you're going to go with, again, like this name, right? He's quarterback's coach for the Minnesota Vikings, learning underneath Kevin O'Connell. I get J.J. McCarthy looks terrible right now, but I hate to say I told you so, but I would say I told you so that McCarthy was going to be a bad quarterback. And, again, to me, the first name that I thought of when I saw Ryan Fitzpatrick was Josh McCown. And I do actually think Josh McCown would be a good offensive coordinator. What up, Mando? Odds Daniel Carlson comes back next season. That number right there. It's a big fat 0. You got to move on from Daniel. He's clearly not as good as what he wants. He's 29 years old. You can find better kickers out there than Daniel Carlson at a much cheaper rate. Bronny, how do you feel about Chris Shula as our next head coach? Love it. He was one of my top. He was one of my top guys. Trade Max, and we will be 5-10 years away from winning. I mean, you don't know that. You could argue with Max we're 5 to 10 years away from winning, right? Like, again, it has to be what is the plan. Like, I don't want to just trade away Maxx Crosby. Like, I'm not going to trade away Maxx Crosby for 3 first-round picks, and then John Gruden looks me in the eyes and he goes, I'm going to take Cleveland Ferrell, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Abram. Right? Like, I'm going to look at him and go, that's a shit idea. And I knew that the Cleveland Ferrell draft pick was going to be a bust. I knew that Jonathan Abram was going to be a bust. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch my videos back in 2018 when I said it. Like, if the Raiders, though, traded away Maxx Crosby, and again, it would suck to say it, but if that head coach looked at me, and again, he goes, I'm going to take Fernando Mendoza, I'm going to take an offensive lineman in the first round, and I'm going to take, a top defensive lineman prospect, I don't think that that's a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. But to say trading away Max is going to put us 5 to 10 years away from winning, unfortunately, you don't know if that's the case. I could make the argument keeping Max is going to put us 5 to 10 years away from winning. Skinbone. Again, nobody wants to trade away Maxx Crosby. It's just when you're in the situation that we're in right now, desperate times call for desperate measures. And sometimes you got to make a change. Did you do a next coach video yet? Yep. Have you looked at Miami offensive coordinator Frank Smith or Packers offensive line coach Adams? How the hell do you what would you say to look at? I haven't. I'll be real. Neither of those guys were in my video. But the video that I did was right here. Carroll replacements, Raiders head coach candidates in 2026. If you type that in on YouTube, you'll be able to see all the offensive-minded guys, all the defensive-minded guys. And then I have a list of names of it's just not going to happen. I'm not saying that those gentlemen that you mentioned aren't good coaches, but again, they can't be the top guys on your list. Like, there's so many other higher quality coaches that you could go out and get. Like, you say Frank Smith, I'd say Mike McDaniel's a better option. I would. What up, Jeff? Moore, Mendoza, USC kid, Mateer in that order. I mean, that can be your order. I'm just going to simply disagree with you. From what I've seen from Mendoza, he's my number one guy. And Moore is probably my number two guy because, again, the other thing that I love about Moore is can't phase him. Like, I've seen that kid do some unbelievable stuff in the biggest situations in college football, and y'all know I'm a Penn State guy. And I'm going to be a Penn State guy just because it's, where I grew up. It's the team that I grew up rooting for when I was a kid. I watched Dante Moore in a whiteout game. Wasn't phased. Like, playing in a whiteout game, if you haven't been at Happy Valley in that environment, I mean, playing in a whiteout game is like playing in an old Oakland game, right? Like, it's just different. And for a young kid to act like not phased at all and dealt with a lot of different situations, had to rally his team multiple times to be able to go out and win that tough game, that's the type of quarterback that I want. And, yeah, his number one receiver was out. Like, speaking of that kid from Oregon, that receiver, that kid's unbelievable. I can't think of his name right now. From Oregon. Jacorian Moore? Is it that? I watched, again, I watch a lot of quarterbacks. I will do more tape, but I think that kid's as close to Puka Nacua as I've seen in college. He is a physical dude. The Oregon receiver. He is a man amongst boys. Can you guys help me out with his name? I can't think of it right now. To the 1,000 people here in the building, if you haven't already, make sure you guys click that like button. Dude, I mean, he's monstrous. He's monstrous. Great route runner, physical, can catch the football. I mean, he does everything. Hang on. Yeah, okay, it's not him. I feel bad that, oh yeah, that's kid from Duncanville. No. I'll find it. Is it Malik Benson? Yeah. I mean, I think that's the guy. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Oh, Sadiq. Yeah, it's Sadiq. Dude, Sadiq is unbelievable. Oh, he's the tight end? Okay. Yeah, no, Sadiq is unbelievable. Again, I don't watch a lot of college football. I will start my college process probably end of March, beginning of April. You're too low on Arch Manning. He's getting better. He is getting better. The problem is, though, you're talking about taking him number one overall. I wouldn't take Arch Manning in the top 6 rounds of the NFL draft. And that's the problem. The only reason why anybody is saying anything about Arch Manning, it's because of his last name. And he is getting better. But, I mean, he's just so far away from being a good NFL quarterback, from even being somebody that's draftable. Like, I don't even know if I would draft Arch Manning. And that's just because he has not shown me anything that makes me believe he is a starting NFL quarterback, let alone somebody I would draft in round 1. So, like, again, I'm guessing you're a Texas fan. I've met a lot of crazy Texas fans down here, but does anybody here think Arch Manning deserves to go in round 1? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know down below. Y for yes, N for no. Got a few more super chats to get to. Friendly reminder, we are doing a duck race today. Haven't done a duck race in some time. We've literally been answering questions here for an hour and 20 minutes. on the program. I did say a $20 Venmo gets you in at Mitchell Renz 365. I don't know how many people. All right, we got a few people that are in. Right now I see Cameron Rodriguez. What up, Cameron? Victor Lobos got you in. Sean Morgan got you in. Justine Gonzalez, you in. Darth Fatass in. And then L.A. Crash Dog, you are also in. $20 Venmo right now for a chance to win $60 here on this program. Watch party for Indiana versus Ohio this Saturday. I was going to say, our Ohio State channel will be doing a watch party, so if anybody here from Chat Sport or if anybody watching this program wants to watch that, that's going to be a fun game to watch. But once the college football playoff games get going, we will start doing some other watch parties here. We might do some on the Raiders Report. I also might just do them on our main YouTube channel over at Chat Sports, but we will have a watch party for this game, so I don't have to do it. So if you want to watch it, it will be through an Ohio State lens. I'm going to be rooting for Mendoza. And I think if Mendoza and if Indiana take down the number 1 seed Ohio State Buckeyes, I think you have to give the Heisman to Mendoza. I don't know how you don't. And again, like today we did a whole video thing at Chat Sports of who's the Heisman favorite, who deserves to win the Heisman. There's so many different options I think you could go with. I think if Indiana beats Ohio State, I don't know how you don't pick Mendoza. True Mestamaker. What up, Raider? What are your thoughts on Julian Sayin so far? I agree with Chugs. Literally just went, he's good, but I don't know. And that's kind of how I feel. You know, like when you're on a very, very talented team, and he is. I don't want to say he reminds me of Will Howard because I really haven't watched the tape yet. Ohio State's probably my least favorite football team. Like, if I'm being real with you. I grew up Penn State guy. I don't like Ohio State football. I don't watch a lot of Ohio State football. But Ohio State's the most talented team in the country. And I think when you look at a guy like Will Howard, again, I think he's very limited of what type of quarterback that he is. And I do think sometimes, you know, you see a lot of these Ohio State quarterbacks, they struggle in the NFL just from the simple fact of Ohio State's just got so much talent compared to everybody else. And that's just the truth, especially on the offensive side of the football. And I think Ohio State knows right now that they can recruit almost whoever they want at quarterback because they're going to have these unbelievable wide receiver rooms. And, I mean, look at the wide receiver groups that Ohio State has been able to bring in. I mean, that is wide receiver you. But saying again is not somebody that I'd want to draft. If you were looking at a quarterback later on like day 3, cool, let's go for it. But, again, so many other options that you could go with. What up, Bronny? I personally like Brian Flores' DC hire for us. I mean, again, you wouldn't hire him as a defensive coordinator. You'd have to get him as a head coach. He's already the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. So if you're saying Brian Flores DC as our head coach, I don't think that that's the worst hire you could get. And, you know, to John Scheffler's point earlier, like, who are we going to get? I think Brian Flores, if given an opportunity to be the head coach of an NFL team, I do think that he would jump at that opportunity, and I think Brian Flores would be a good hire for the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's go to the next guy coming in here, Raider Gaines. After my analysis on the Raiders organization, need to address culture in the front office. Too unstoppable for coaches and employees. Failure to address good old boy network. No true leader. This is reflected on the field. You know, I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and this was my conversation. Right now, the Raiders kind of seem like an organization. Let's just say the guy calling the number 1 guy in Mark Davis's ear, in my opinion, is Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not always around the house. And I almost wonder if, you know, Tom's like the dad, right? Or whatever. If Tom's the teacher and Pete Carroll's, you know, supposed to be the the sub. People don't respect the sub the same way they do the actual teacher. And there is clear disconnect in this organization, right? Like, there's a reason why the Raiders have been as bad as what we have been for so long, and it does start at the top. It starts with Mark Davis, and I do think Mark employs a lot of people that he's friends with. I think Mark, you know, does give longer leashes to people that he's friends with than other people. And I also think that Mark just doesn't listen to the right guys that are inside that organization all the time. And I think because Mark knows that he has no idea about football, he listens to almost anybody. And, we got to start listening to smart football minds. Again, man, there's so many things wrong with this team from top to bottom. You know it. I know it. I truly don't know what it's going to take to get this team going. And the only thing that I can say is we got to get a good head coach, got to get a good offensive coordinator, got to be able to get a quarterback, got to get a good DC, and all of those guys have to be in line with John Spytek. I think all of those things can be true. But I hear you. There's clearly a lot of issues with this organization. Chris Perez, I see you down there below. You're in. And then Manuel Ruiz, you, sir, are also in this duck race. Sebastian, look at the Commanders last year. We don't need to replace every player. Just change the culture. Draft strategically in certain positions. I actually was hoping that the Raiders this past offseason were going to do kind of what like the Commanders did. And they didn't go out and make a ton of big splashy plays. They got their young rookie quarterback. That young rookie quarterback's got a good head on his shoulders. When you have a young leader that is clearly talented, you can get going in the right direction. Honestly, I even look at a team like the Houston Texans, and they found the opportunity. They said, if we can get our quarterback, and then if we can build this just nasty defense, we're going to be a tough team to be able to deal with. Now I get it, that offensive line stinks, and they're going to have to build that offensive line. But when you have salary cap space, when you have draft picks, I do think with good coaching, you can get the team going in the right direction. And, look at the 49ers. And I'm not trying to say, I know y'all hate the Niners. I hate the Niners too. But look at all the injuries the Niners have had, right? Like, there's a lot of injuries on that 49ers team. But they got a good coaching staff, and they are able to figure it out because when you have good coaches, you use your players in the right you just use your players right. And the biggest problem with this Raiders team is we don't have a lot of talent. We have bad coaching, and we're not playing our players in the right positions. Like, there's so many guys playing out of position. And you know it, I know it. What's up, Lost in Your Mom? Out of curiosity, do you think they will target Cliff from Washington? No, I do not. Let's go to the next one. I do not. Mendoza ceiling in NFL comparisons? Oh, man, that's a hell of a question. There's a part of me when I watch Mendoza. Again, I actually sometimes hate the NFL comparison question because I just don't have one right now off the top of my head that I really want to sit up here and give you. Chuck said Tom Brady. Nah, I'll look for a better comparison. I don't have a comparison, but in terms of ceiling, I think Mendoza's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Whatever that looks like. Because he's not nearly as athletic as a guy like Justin Herbert, but I do think he's got a laser beam of an arm. He can spread the football across the field on a bunch of different levels, no doubt about it. He's not as mobile as maybe, what you typically want in a QB, but I think if you give him the right coach, you give him the right staff, he can do a lot of good things. Crash Dog, what's up, my man? What did I miss? SaveAWarrior.org for veterans and first responders struggling. Yes, I know it's no longer November. I know it's no longer Salute to Service Month, but if anybody ever wants to go help, SaveAWarrior.org/donate. And if you do, make sure you tell them Father Tom sent you. I'm looking down there at the Supers. I don't know how many more we have to go to get into our first segment, but we're still chugging along here. Kubiak, Shula, or Flores for head coach? If I had to pick, I would go Kubiak, and it's only because he's an offensive-minded coach. But I would rank it Kubiak, Shula, Flores. Because, though, again, if you hire Kubiak, it tells me that you're going to go quarterback. If you go Shula or Flores, I don't know if they're going to go with a quarterback. Mando, AOC or Arch Manning to start your franchise? LOL. Oh, shit. Yeah, y'all might call me crazy. I actually think I might take Aiden O'Connell. And that's only because Aiden O'Connell, to me, has got 1 year left on his rookie deal. You draft Arch Manning, you're probably going to have to deal with Arch for 4 years. So I'd probably say Aiden O'Connell because to me, Aiden O'Connell's got 1 year, Arch Manning's got a guaranteed 4 to 5. And I don't think Arch Manning's going to be very good. So I'd rather take the 1 year compared to the 4. But that's, do I want shit or diarrhea? And I don't want to start my career with either because I've been dealing with both. What's up, Campbell? Who do you draft right now in the 4th overall pick, Mitch? Just curious. Again, like if I have the number 4 overall pick and if Mendoza's not there, I'm team trade back. And it's only because of all the holes that this team has. Like, if I'm looking at the number 4 overall pick, I'm sitting here going, we have so many other holes that we need to get. And I know it's probably not really the question that you're asking me right now. I'm team trade back. And I would just want to get more first-round picks. I would want to just get more picks in general because of all the holes that we have. Build the team that way. Jason Haas. Bah! Pedigree matters. Manning the pick. Runs pro-style offense with RPO. Sark is a good offensive mind. Glad you're feeling better, Mitch. Pedigree matters, but talent matters. And there's just no way you can look at Arch Manning and say that that's the guy I want on the Raiders running my team. You just can't tell me it. And if you do tell me it, again, I think you're just blinded either A, by you're a Texas fan, or, by B, you just want him because his last name's Manning. If his last name wasn't Manning, I think we'd fall into the same conversation of like Shedeur Sanders. I think people fell in love with Shedeur Sanders because of what he was off the field, because of his last name more than the talent that he has as a quarterback. And I think Manning's the exact same thing as that. Like, again, I don't think Manning's very good, and I'll continue to say it. Rob O, Mendoza, draft 3 on offense, 6 on defense. If some of those are going to be some offensive linemen, I agree. And we do, man. We got a lot of pieces that we need on the defensive side of the football. Arch Manning will be a star in the NFL from Dance. It's not going to be a hill I die on. I'm going to watch more tape. And again, I know that y'all are asking me a lot of draft questions, but I want to be honest with you. I haven't done a lot of draft homework yet. And personally, I wouldn't ask me draft questions right now. If you want to know about the Las Vegas Raiders, and maybe I got to start doing more draft homework, I just don't have as much time to do the draft homework because I'm still, doing what I got to do for the regular season here for the Raiders. But, I have not done nearly, I'm at, if in terms of draft homework that I've done, I'm at 5%. Imagine if you had to study for a test and you in your mind needed to study 100 index cards. I've studied 5 index cards. And you guys can keep asking me draft questions. I don't mind it, but I'm just being very honest with you. You're going to get vanilla answers because I haven't done my draft homework. But I think anybody that has followed this show when it comes to quarterbacks, I think I've been spot on with the quarterbacks over the past few years of what they're going to look like, where they're going to go, how they're going to materialize if they go where they want. I haven't done homework on it yet. So I just want y'all to know that. So if you send in those questions like draft Garrett Nussmeier and build the offensive line, if that's your opinion, you can go with it. But I have no interest in Nussmeier, I'll tell you that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is there are a few other super chats to get to. We're going to get into our first segment here on the Raiders Report, and then we are going to get in. I would say I was right on Bo Nix. Again, people can troll me all they want. I said Bo Nix, if he goes to the Broncos with Sean Payton, will be a good quarterback. You can't say that I didn't say it. I'll still say that I don't think Bo Nix is all that good, but with Sean Payton, he's been much better. Yeah, I don't think that's a statement that I made. And again, people could troll me for saying Bo Nix was bad, but I said Bo Nix was going to be bad with the Raiders. So yeah, again, you got to be able to meet me halfway. My quarterback rankings that year's draft were Drake May was number 1, Jaden Daniels number 2, Caleb Williams number 3. I believe I had Bo Nix at 4. There was one other. Oh no, I had Michael Penix Jr. at 4. Bo Nix at 5, J.J. McCarthy at 6. I'm pretty sure. Or Bo and J.J. were flipped. Lil Hal Screw says lies. Lil Hal Screw, if I can prove to you that I said Bo Nix would be good with Sean Payton, would you drop a $500 Venmo super chat on this show? And if your answer is no, I'll block you right now. You got a deal? How about that? If you guys shake on that. You shake on that right now. If I can prove to you, I said in a video, Bo Nix would be a good quarterback with Sean Payton, $500 Venmo on this show, or else you're blocked for life on the Raiders Report. Shake on it right now. Let's do it. You got it? Come on. If you're going to talk that shit in the chat, back it up. Let's go. Put that handshake down there in the chat. Let's get it. Where you at?
He needs some milk.
Where you at? You're gone now. Can somebody find him?
He needs some milk.
Can somebody find him? Where's he at? Where's he at? He's gone. Oh, he's running away. I said he'd be a bust on the Raiders. I said he'd be good with Sean Payton. So I'll say it like this. I'm going to shake your hand for you. You got a deal? I hope that's it. That's kind of intense, Robert. Oh, hey, I'm going to be intense because I think it's one of the things that drives me the most nuts because, again, if you're going to troll me, just be right on it. That's all. I know I said Bo Nix would be bad, but I also said he'd be bad on the Raiders. I said he'd be good with Sean Payton. Can't tell me that I didn't. Got a deal? We got a deal? Come on, where you at? Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to prove to you that I said that he'd be good, and I'm just letting you know right now that if you find out that you can't comment on this show, that's the reason. $500 Venmo, Lil J. I'm going to prove it to you. Let's get into this next show about some crazy, is it coaching rumors or are we doing? Oh, okay. So I didn't know which one we were going to. The Jeremy seg first. This is going to be interesting. So again, I typically do my own shows in terms of like scripting everything out. I had, again, I'm still kind of getting over a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with here from a body standpoint. So Jeremy literally scripted, built this entire show. Shout out to Chugs. And it's around some crazy head coaching rumors. And these are definitely going to be crazy. But I can't wait to show y'all what I have to say about them. So coming up on this program, let's get into some of these crazy head coaching rumors right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, some insane, some crazy NFL head coaching rumors around the silver and black. And, you know, we sit up here and I don't think there's anybody on God's green earth that wants Pete Carroll to return. But I also am somebody that I like to look at a lot of other stories around the NFL because it can impact the Raiders. Because if we sit up here and we're going, we're probably going to have a different head coach this next season, you also have to wonder, well, if other teams move on from their head coaches, or if there's other head coaches that just randomly pop up into the cycle, could they potentially be a name that Mark Davis, Tom Brady look at? We're going to look at 3 coaches right now on today's show that I think you guys would say, man, that would be crazy if the Raiders hired them. But if you haven't already, make sure you click that like button because I'm ready for a fun Raiders season. I love the offseason. I'm just so sick and tired of shitty regular seasons. And, you know, as a Raiders fan, you always got to look at it as glass half full. You got to be a hopeful Raiders fan or else I don't know how you can be a hopeful fan, right? Like, you just got to find hope in any way possible. I want a new head coach. I'm ready to be able to enjoy the regular season because I hate the fact that it's December and I'm already ready to move on to next season. Let's go to the first coach that was at least brought up in some NFL head coaching rumors, and his name is Bill Belichick. Now, before you say, Mitch, why do you want Bill Belichick? The names that you're going to see on this show are not people that I want. There's just head coaching rumors out there into the world. And when you see this report from Josina Anderson, you can't tell me that you don't think that she's talking about the Las Vegas Raiders here. So, this is from Josina. I am told at least 2 NFL teams are still expected to have interest in talking to Bill Belichick behind the scenes. At the very least, about head coaching jobs this carousel season, per a league source. A third team could also enter the mix with desires to talk, particularly if one specific personnel change is made under ownership, the source added. So, like, when you look at right now the openings for head coaching jobs, there's the New York Giants opening, there's the Tennessee Titans opening. I will tell you all this right now. I have no interest in Bill Belichick being the next Raiders head coach. Very, very clear on it. But I also know that Josina Anderson is alluding to that third team. Let's be honest with ourselves here. When you hear the name Bill Belichick and she's alluding to that third team, I think she's alluding to the fact that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady were, you know, probably the greatest NFL head coaching quarterback dynasty that we have ever seen in football with 6 Super Bowls together. And I know that Bill is up there in age, and I know he's with North Carolina, but I think I could also simply say that, well, Bill's not getting it done in North Carolina right now, and I don't know if he's even going to return next season. Now, Bill has obviously said that he has no plans of returning to the NFL. I know that, and you know that, and he does have a good resume when you look at all the resumes that are there. I also know that Mark Davis loves the old name, and Mark Davis loves being able to bring in somebody that has that proven resume. What scares me is, would Tom Brady say, hey, I actually think it would be a good idea to bring in Bill Belichick? I hope that he wouldn't, but when you see that report from Josina Anderson, you can't tell me that there won't be people that connect Bill Belichick to the Las Vegas Raiders. And one of the things that I want to do on this show is, because when I see NFL rumors out there, I get asked questions. So I like to be able to give my opinion, and I'm going to give you my opinion right now. What would be your one-word reaction if the Raiders hired Bill Belichick next season to be their head coach? Because, again, he's got a great resume. Him and Tom Brady have accomplished a lot of great things. You can't say that they haven't. My answer coming up here right after this YouTube ad break. I don't know if it's one word, but I'm going to make it one word. Pete Carroll 2.0. I think if you were to hire Bill Belichick to be your Raiders head coach next season, Mark, it would literally be the exact same situation that we're in right now. Oh, man, I didn't know this picture was going to be on here. But again, man, it's literally Pete Carroll 2.0, because why would you hire somebody that's clearly shown that it's past him? And it clearly has passed him. Bill struggled his final years in New England. He is really struggling being able to build something in North Carolina. And if I was Bill Belichick, I would just focus on the relationship that I have with, my new significant other. And she's 24, really? Christ. But I would focus on that. Like, Bill, you've already done everything that you've been able to accomplish from an NFL standpoint. You're making millions of dollars at North Carolina. I mean, I love my wife. I love Alex to death. But, as a 74-year-old guy, however the whole hell old he is, for him to be able to be dating a 24-year-old, Bill, just, honestly, bro, go enjoy that. I have no interest in Bill Belichick being the next Raiders head coach. And I have had people show me the Josina tweet, and then Chugs is like, dude, have you talked about this yet? I said, I haven't talked about it yet. I'll tell you this, I got no interest at all in Bill Belichick being the Raiders' next head coach. Coming up next here, though, will the Raiders trade for a coach? And that's where this next conversation is going to go, because there's two head coaches right now that are currently employed by teams that, I don't know, I would wonder if they said, hey, I'm interested in taking another job. Could they potentially be available via trade? We'll talk about who they are here in just a moment. But today's show is operated and sponsored by our good friends over at PrizePicks. And it's the holiday season, the best time of the year for bowl games, basketball matchup, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day on which gifts to buy, maybe which 24-year-old to date, what to eat, which games to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's on PrizePicks. And I love their new features. They always break out new features. One of the things that I love is their early payouts. Also, if your fantasy season is already over, you could still get a PrizePicks lineup in. This week, I'm showing Chugs' lineup for the Texans and Chiefs game, because I'll keep saying it. I care more about the Texans beating the Kansas City Chiefs and potentially knocking them out of the playoffs than I do the Raiders beating the Denver Broncos. And I hate the Broncos. Don't get me wrong. I obviously hate Kansas City as well. But again, I'll be real. I'd be more happy if the Texans beat the Chiefs compared to if the Raiders beat the Broncos, because at this point, I want a higher overall pick. Sure, losing 10 straight AFC West games is a kick in the nuts, but also a kick in the nuts is not getting started with our sponsor, PrizePicks, because this Raiders season is lost. No doubt about it. And if you want to join millions of users, then sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. Get in on the action. I know Bill Belichick is. PrizePicks is now available in 45 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Let's go to the next coach here that we're going to talk about, because in this video, again, there has been, I would say, multiple rumors around multiple head coaches out there that could be on the move. And oftentimes, if we're going to move on from Pete, we bring up Shula. We'll bring up Clint Kubiak. We'll bring up, I don't know, Brian Flores, LaFleur. I mean, whoever it is, because they're currently offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. I think a lot of times we forget about guys that are currently employed as a head coach. And Josina Anderson, and I'll just say this because I know I've said before things about Josina not having all the right sources. I think sometimes, though, you got to give people respect where credit is due. And Josina last year in all the head coaching circles, there were 7 open head coaching jobs. Josina reported 5 out of those 7 before a lot of other people, so she is well connected in terms of head coaching circles. You got to be able to give respect where respect's due. Keeping tabs as we approach the carousel season, league sources are eyeing 5 more NFL teams with projected openings at head coach, as where things stand today, while waiting to collect more data on a 6-team too. Meanwhile, there is a longtime NFL head coach out there who is considering wanting a change of scenery and has told others of these thoughts. If he acts on those lingering feelings, his departure would clearly add to the list of vacancies. I know that she doesn't mention a name here, okay? The number one name that I personally think that she is talking about, and a name that she has proven that she has inside sources with through her multiple years of covering the NFL, it's Mike Tomlin. And, I'm live right now on the Raiders Report. We got over 1,000 people here in the building right now. Shout out to all of y'all. But Mike Tomlin is an interesting name. And I bring that up because right now I would consider Mike Tomlin a top 32 head coach on the planet. And I know last year when I brought up a name like Mike Vrabel, a lot of you are like, Mitch, he got fired. Mike Vrabel was a top 32 head coach in the NFL. Mike McCarthy is a top 32 head coach in terms of in the world right now. Just like there's 32 top quarterbacks in the NFL. There are coaches that even if they are maybe with the current team or not employed, they are in the top 32. Mike Tomlin, much better than what Pete Carroll would be. Mike McCarthy, much better than what Pete Carroll would be. And I do think it's very interesting that fans, especially in Pittsburgh, they're turning on Tomlin. And, you look at the owners right now in Pittsburgh. They're frustrated with the lack of recent playoff success. Earlier on this show, somebody is like, Mitch, Mike Tomlin's the Derek Carr of head coaches. Respectfully, I disagree with that because Tomlin has at least won a Super Bowl. He's also had 18 straight winning seasons. And I get it. He hasn't had a playoff game where they've won since 2016. But I'll also say I think one of the biggest issues with Tomlin has been he has to find that next quarterback. He's got to be able to find that next guy to be able to take over from Ben Roethlisberger because they held on to Big Ben for too long. And since then, they've been playing that quarterback carousel. But I do think this right now, if Mike Tomlin is available, if you're the Raiders, you have to entertain that idea. And I say that because I think when the Raiders hired Pete Carroll, they were looking for a CEO head coach. And if you go out and you hire a Mike Tomlin and then you go out and you add a good offensive coordinator, maybe somebody like, I don't know, a Brian Dable, maybe like a Mike McDaniel, like somebody that, has that type of success. And then you look at the defensive side of the football. People are going to want to come play for Mike Tomlin. And I know Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game since 2016, but 18 straight winning seasons. He's never had a losing season. I'll tell you this right now, that sounds pretty damn good for the Raiders. And to me, Mike Tomlin for the Raiders would be a hire if you can't get your young, innovative head coach. You can't get the Jesse Minter. You can't get the Shula. You can't get the Clint Kubiak. And you're like, all right, we can't get a young guy. Maybe I can get a Mike McCarthy. Or maybe I could go out and get a Mike Tomlin. Because for Josina to be talking about Tomlin, and again, I think everyone at this point is assuming that Josina's tweet is in regards to Tomlin. Because off the top of my head, I'm trying to sit there and go, who is a long-tenured head coach that I think has connections to Josina, but could there be somebody else that she's talking about? Because I do also know this, Josina is very well tied in with the Sanders family. She is very well tied in with a lot of things going on with the Cleveland Browns, and she's very well tied in with the AFC North. Again, she has been able to prove that from her years of covering the NFL. So the other name that I am thinking about, and the other name that Chugs brought up to me, Kevin Stefanski from the Cleveland Browns. And before everyone goes, Mitch, you can't bring in Kevin Stefanski. All I'm going to say is this. You do have to look at the coaching tree. Excuse me. I just swallowed something. I don't know what it was. But Kevin Stefanski, there is clear frustration in that organization with him because I don't think Stefanski wants Shedeur Sanders. I also don't think that he's made good personnel decisions from a quarterback standpoint, because I think for you to trade for a guy like Deshaun Watson, for you to give him a guaranteed contract when he's got all of the allegations against him, that's Kevin Stefanski looking at all those women and saying, you're all lying. I believe Deshaun, because it's the only way that you give up the amount of draft picks and the only way that you give that guaranteed contract. But like, to me, Stefanski clearly doesn't want Shedeur Sanders. And there is a clear disconnect in that organization with Stefanski, but Stefanski comes from a very, very good coaching tree. And that's something that you got to sit back and you got to go, all right, well, he comes from that good coaching tree. And he's been a part of the Minnesota Vikings organization. And he's been underneath some really solid head coaches in that time. I know the overall record isn't very good, and the record the last 2 seasons, it's also not very good. But he does have a lot of, we'll call it, offensive coordinator experience. Like, to me, I wouldn't look at Stefanski and be like, that's a guy I want to bring in as a head coach. Like, I'll be real. Like, the only name on this show that I would entertain the idea around being a head coach is Mike Tomlin. But if you told me I could potentially get Kevin Stefanski as an offensive coordinator if he's no longer wanted in Cleveland, I think I'd entertain that idea. Again, I don't want Bill Belichick, but I saw the Josina report. Chuck's put this video together, and he was like, what do you think about Bill? I got no interest in Bill. Interest in Mike. Don't have all that much interest, though, in Kevin Stefanski. So predict it down below. That's what this show here is all about. Who is going to be the Raiders head coach next season? We've had people say that this is not an attractive job, and sometimes when it's not an attractive job, you have to pick from names like we're talking about right here. I think I can make an argument that this is a much more attractive job than what people realize. I will say you need to probably finish with a top 2 overall pick. And if you're watching this video live and if you're a subscriber of the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you guaranteed why the Las Vegas Raiders are going to have a top 2 pick in the NFL draft this upcoming season. And if you don't believe me, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are on, because when you get done watching that next video, you're going to go, yeah, the Raiders are going to have a top 2 pick in the NFL draft this upcoming season. Let's go through some super chats here on the program. And I do want to say this. I apologize to JI420 down there in the chat. I got a little bit fired up at you, and I don't know if you're still here. And again, I apologize for it. But there are certain things that when people say them repeatedly, it frustrates me because, again, you're putting my name on the line, and you're just not getting it right. So when you're saying things that aren't true, it bothers me. And I did say that I thought Bo Nix was going to be a bust. I did say that I did not think that Bo Nix was going to be good, but I did say that Bo Nix with Sean Payton on the Denver Broncos would be the best fit for him. And I'll also say that I still don't think that he's very good at quarterback.
I will say,
not going to talk about
from
it
this
anymore.
past video, a lot more people were very fond of the Mike Tomlin idea, more than I thought.
When you first brought it up to me today, I said, no, I don't want him. And then, I really did sit there and I thought about it, and I'm like, would I take Mike Tomlin over Pete Carroll? The answer to that is yes. Do I think Mike Tomlin is a top 32 coach in the world? My answer to that is yes. And I sit here and I go, sometimes I fall into what I want, and what I want is not Mike Tomlin. I want other areas. Like, I want other guys more. But if you were to tell me Mike Tomlin or Pete Carroll, I'm taking Mike Tomlin every single day of the week.
Why for yes, in for no? Would you be okay with the hiring of Mike Tomlin? Why for yes, in for no?
What do you guys think? Mike Tomlin, yes or no? Again, I get it. He's not a young, innovative mind. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016.
He's just like, he's like DJ Khaled.
But he is a leader of men.
All he does is win.
He does win. A lot. He does win. And imagine if Mike Tomlin can go out and get his guy like Mendoza.
And
I think
will
that's
say,
a recipe for success.
Even though it's not the same as Pete Carroll as like the quick fix, I think Tomlin is what Mark Davis wanted from Pete Carroll. Somebody to stabilize the organization and bring in a culture. That's what Mike Tomlin will do. And that's what they wanted Pete Carroll to do, but he's a baby back bitch right now. Sorry, Pete Carroll, if you're watching. I don't think you are, but I think you're acting like it.
I don't disagree. I mean,
and I think that's
the 2025 Raiders are playing like a bunch of baby back you-know-whats.
And I think, what Mark Davis thought Pete Carroll would do is what Mike Tomlin actually would do. If this guy can coach Antonio Brown and keep him in check as long as he did, I mean, we've seen what happened to him as soon as he left the Steelers.
Well, I'll say this. If you want to talk about a team that's had to deal with a lot of shit show wide receivers, Mike Tomlin has got to be – I mean, it starts with – I think you could say Santonio Holmes went off his rocker, Antonio Brown, Deonta Johnson, Martavis Bryant.
And all of those guys were okay in Pittsburgh. They didn't have problems.
George Pickens, Juju Smith-Schuster went crazy. There's got to be more. I mean, the amount of receivers that were clearly talented, and the moment they left, they were like, holy shit, this guy's impossible to be able to handle. And I'll also say this. If I could give one more reason why I would like Mike, the stability, you got to have that head coach that, again, demands respect, that I think will have in a city like Las Vegas with all the off-the-field issues that this team has had, and we haven't had any off-the-field issues, really. I can't say. The whole Wilkins situation. Maybe having a guy like Mike Tomlin to be able to oversee. Again, I think you could do much, much worse. I think Mike Tomlin would fall into the Mike McCarthy situation. I think Mike McCarthy is a top 32 head coach on the planet right now.
Yep. Skinbone said,
in
why
terms
not?
of Ty Simpson,
Yeah.
I watched the Alabama game actually in the hospital this past Saturday. Again, I had to go in the hospital again on Saturday. I'm fine. I'm fine. I really truly am. It's just I've had a lot of issues with my body over the past week. But we watched that. Alex and I watched the Alabama-Auburn game, and Ty Simpson he's a good quarterback. He just to me, he doesn't give me that wow factor. And maybe I got to watch more games on him, and I probably do have to watch more games on him. It's just, to me, I feel like I quickly get wowed, and the only guy that really truly gives me that wow factor is Mendoza. I am impressed by more. I'm not saying Ty Simpson's not a good quarterback. It's just where we're at right now, and I think that's just where I'm at. Where we are at right now as an organization, a team that I don't think is going to win another game this season. We're 2-15. I just feel like Ty Simpson's settling. And I don't want to settle. At this point, if I can dream and I can hope, I'm going to hope for Mendoza. I'm not going to hope for Ty Simpson. I think that's probably the realest way that I could put it.
UNT.
What?
Hired their new head coach. Former West Virginia coach Neil Brown.
You don't seem excited about it.
I
have no idea.
I think it's an okay hire. He was not good at West Virginia. He was 37-35. Was great at Troy, which was a smaller school, kind of like North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Coop hates it though.
Wow.
I don't know. I think Coop's just. Coop and Marsh. They could have hired.
I was just gonna say.
They could have hired.
Who are you talking about?
Tom Brady, and they would be mad.
Ricardo.
They wanted Gruden.
Dude, John Gruden at North Texas would have been electric. John Gruden should go to college football. He would be a great college coach. He would. Draft LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, and build the offensive line. Again, I'm not a Nussmeier believer. So you just, if you're not good in college, it's hard for me to be convinced that you're going to be good in the NFL. I don't know. I just don't see it with Nussmeier. I feel like anybody that tries to sell me on Nussmeier is an LSU fan. I don't know if you're an LSU fan, but people that try to sell me on Nussmeier, it feels very similar to Drew Aller. But man, he's got all these intangibles. He's got all these tools. He's got this. He's got that. Then show me. Show me that you can do it. And until they do it on a consistent basis, I'm not interested. Now again, I don't know where you're telling me I got to draft him, but I'm not drafting him on day one. I'm not drafting him on day two. Is that a franchise quarterback at that point? I don't know. Daniel Caesar, what's up, man? If we hire a defensive guy, Robert Saleh should definitely be considered. I actually believe Saleh was in our video. I don't remember if it's sad. I mean, I did it only a few weeks ago, but I agree with you that Robert Saleh should be in consideration because he is a great – I think he's a great coach. I think he got kind of a shit spot going to the New York Jets. And, again, certain destinations are not where – certain destinations are just bad destinations, right? Certain organizations have been bad for a long, long time for a reason. But I agree. I think Robert Saleh, to me, Robert Saleh and Brian Flores are kind of in that same boat of really good defensive-minded coach. I don't think got a fair shake at the job when they were a head coach. Would be a very well-respected guy in that room, but it would be, what's the plan? I think that you could do much worse than Robert Saleh. I agree with that. What up, Josh? Shake on it. I'm kidding. I love the show.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Oh, man, Armbra. What's up, man? It's been a minute. What's up, Mitch? Thoughts on John Harbaugh from Baltimore? Also, what's up with the Jim Gray rumors? I'll say this right now. I'm not going to get into the Jim Gray rumors, and that's only because I think the people that are putting out a lot of these Jim Gray rumors are throwing out a lot of stuff. Yesterday when I was talking to the beat reporters that I talked to, and if you didn't see the video that I put out this morning, I encourage you to go put it out there and go check it out. I don't want to speak on anything that I'm not really educated on, and I don't know a lot about the Jim Gray rumors. I've seen what people have said. I have asked certain people about it. If you don't know what he's talking about, essentially a lot of people are saying Jim Gray is like the biggest reason why the Raiders have been a joke for as long as they have because he's in Mark Davis's ear. I've asked some people about it. I haven't really got a lot in return. So, I don't want to speak on something that I'm not fully educated on. In terms of John Harbaugh from Baltimore, again, I think John Harbaugh is a top 32 coach on the planet. And if the Baltimore Ravens moved on from him, I think there'd be a lot of teams that would say, I think when a guy like John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, if they are available, there's going to be some teams that look at their current head coach and they're going to go, shit, man, I think we might have to move on from this guy.
Yeah.
Right? I think when you look at the New England Patriots last year, Gerard Mayo, I don't think that Gerard Mayo, again, was given a fair shot. But when a guy like Mike Vrabel comes available, they go, do I think Mike Vrabel's better than, what's his name, Gerard Mayo? If the answer to that is yes, then you find a way to go out and get that guy. And I think if John Harbaugh became available, with the Harbaugh connection to Mark Davis, that does matter. Again, he's not a young, innovative guy, but is John Harbaugh a top 32 head coach on the planet? I would say yes. I think that you could do a lot worse than John Harbaugh. Let's go to Armando. Also, Harbaugh had to learn from one of the greatest organizations in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, that's another organization. They churn out high-quality draft picks over and over and over again. Bring back Chucky. Yeah, I don't know if you don't watch this show a lot.
Same thing from Noodles, by the way.
Again, I don't understand how anybody could ever want John Gruden, and I will continuously say it. He failed in the draft. He failed in free agency. He failed during trades. And, for anybody to be like, oh, well, he was on the right track. John Harbaugh, out of 55 qualifying head coaches, is ranked 54th out of 55 as being the worst winning percentage in the month of December and the month of January. John Gruden teams fell apart at the end of the season. They were good in the first half of the season. I just encourage people to see what they would look like in the back half. So when I hear people say, oh, they were going in the right direction that year with Derek Carr, we started 3-0. We got to 3-2, and then he resigned. I don't know what makes anybody think that the John Gruden Raiders, who proved every single year that they would fall apart at the end of the year, were going to be a good team.
Noodles is talking about Chuck.
Oh. Chuck is a dog. I'll tell you this right now. I would trust Chuck. When you see that one dog, it's like the two basketball hoops. It's that dog, he hits the ball and goes into the hoop. I would trust Chuck to do that in terms of what personnel decisions the Raiders should make more than Pete Carroll right now. I wonder if Pete even realizes he's coaching bad. I hate saying it, but we're looking at a guy right now where it's kind of the conversation that you got to have with grandma and grandpa of, it's time to take away the car keys. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. Doesn't mean that you don't want the best for them, but there is that conversation that needs to be had of, it's just time to take away the car keys because you're putting other people at risk. And Pete Carroll is putting other people at risk just in terms of their own job, right? players, other coaches, front office members. Pete Carroll is costing people their jobs. And whether that's a harsh statement to make, I don't think that it is, because I do think that Pete Carroll is putting people at risk of losing their job on a daily, weekly basis.
He almost made you lose a nut.
Almost made me lose a nut. Crazy enough. True story. Name a team in the playoffs right now that won't make it at the end of the season. Coming up here is going to be our Tuna's Top 5. Again, we always try to show love to the great Brandon Jasper. Shout out to the great Tuna.
And if y'all need some help.
I was going to say, if you need a little help, here's what the NFL playoff picture looks like after Week 13. You got your number 1 seeds, the Bears and the Patriots. Then you got your wild card round, which the 7 seed.
Tom Brady's top 2 head coaching candidates.
What do you say?
Tom Brady's top 2 head coaching candidates.
Tom Brady?
Remember?
When?
Ben Johnson. Mike
Oh,
Vrabel.
yeah. I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying Tom Brady is a top 2
No.
head coach candidate.
Said
Well,
his
yeah,
top-
Tom Brady's top 2 guys. Again, for anybody that's like, fire Tom Brady, he didn't want Pete Carroll. The 2 guys Tom Brady wanted, Ben Johnson, on the other end, Mike Vrabel. And then you got Buffalo, Colts, Chargers, Ravens, Jags, Broncos. On the NFC side, you got the 49ers, Rams, Packers, Eagles, Seahawks, Buccaneers. So again, my question to you is, in the playoffs right now, who's not going to make it at the end of the season? Out of those teams, who's not going to make it? Can you go back one more time?
Yep.
Out of these teams right here, who's not going to make the playoffs? Because I look at that list right now, and what's crazy is I actually think it comes down to an injury for me, where what's like the health status of Justin Herbert, because I know he broke his hand, and he looked completely different. And I mean completely different. But, I mean, I could see Jacksonville still getting in. I actually think Indy's an interesting one, because since the Daniel Jones injury, he has not looked the same. I think the Packers are going to get in. Out of those teams, I'm going to go Chargers, Colts, Chargers, Colts, 49ers. I see a lot of people saying Seattle. Seattle's an interesting one as well. I mean, there's a lot of... I mean, the NFC West is stacked right now. I mean, the NFC West is... Would you argue the best division in the NFL? The NFC West, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams. NFC North.
Yeah. The NFC North.
NFC North, NFC West, I would say top 2 divisions in the NFL right now.
AFC South.
It's a lot better than what we thought, I'll tell you that. It's a lot better than what we thought. So today's Tuna's Top 5 is going to be Chugs' top 5 teams in the hunt. So the way that how did you do this, I guess?
So I saw what you had, and I was trying to think of it. So then I was like, I'm going to switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
These are the top 5 teams that I think are in the hunt graphics, best teams that nobody in the playoffs wants to play right now.
Okay.
So out of the teams that are out of the playoffs, I think these are the top 5 of those in the hunt.
Okay. I like it. Talk to me. Let's do
Number
it.
5, we just talked about his team, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. And this one's an interesting one because I don't think he really makes a push for the wild card. If the Steelers make the playoffs, they're winning the division.
Agreed.
It's the Steelers and the Ravens. We talked about the Bengals are kind of creeping up 2 games back. They have 8 losses already. Will we see an 8-loss division winner in the Cincinnati Bengals? They'll have to win out and get some help from some other teams. They just missed my list of in the hunt. You know, just a little spoiler of what's ahead. But, I mean, you have the Steelers. If Aaron Rodgers gets healthy, you have T.J. Watt, a somewhat scary defense, even though, you know, they've kind of been cheeks the past couple weeks. They did just get Asante Samuel Jr., so that's going to be a very interesting storyline to see how he plays. Will he be a good corner for them?
Listen to this. The Bengals' remaining schedule: Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. Okay? I think that's a lot easier than the Ravens' remaining schedule, which is Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers.
Yeah.
And then Steelers have Ravens, Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Steelers. Like, I think the Ravens have by far...
The last one was the Bengals schedule. Right?
No, the one that I just said was Steelers. So Steelers play Ravens, Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Ravens.
Okay.
So, like, to me, I look at the Steelers and the Ravens schedule. I think it's much more difficult than the Bengals.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
This team is just on the outside looking in. Number 4, the Detroit Lions, which they've had a lot to deal with. I mean, shout out, kudos to Dan Campbell, because for one, I am eating a slice of I was wrong pie with Dan Campbell. I thought the Lions would suck this year. They lost both of their coordinators to other head coaching vacancies. They lost Ben Johnson to the Bears. They lost Aaron Glenn to the Jets. And they're still right there in the hunt as one of the top teams to vie for a wild card spot. Now, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But the Detroit Lions they're frisky.
Does anybody want to play the Lions, I think, in January? Like, that's a tough team to play.
Yeah.
That's a team that I wouldn't want to go up against. So I actually think I would rank the Lions higher. So I'm curious to see who you got in your top 3.
Number 3, I think nobody wants to play the Dallas Cowboys right now. They're on a little bit of a heater. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Chiefs, both in basically prime time fashion. And that offense has been good all year. That's not the problem. They have a top 5 offense in the NFL with Dak. They really smart. And Mitch as well is a big in the trenches guy. The Cowboys have built in the trenches. They traded a lot in the trenches. They got multiple defensive linemen, Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, because their defensive tackle room has sucked the past couple years.
Look at what the Cowboys defense has turned into just by adding a player like Quinnen Williams. When you can win in the trenches, it makes everything look so much easier.
And they're getting Trevon Diggs back. And it's kind of funny because I think they've already lost a little bit too much to maybe get in. But I'm telling you, if the Cowboys get in, even at that 7 seed, right? I think they're going to be a dangerous squad.
I mean, you look at, we just talked about like Cowboys, Eagles. Like, I think right now the Cowboys are a better football team than the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think I'm saying right now, right? You look at the Eagles schedule. They play the Chargers, Raiders, that's a win. Commanders, Bills, Commanders. And the Cowboys got Lions, Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, Giants. I mean, could we see a situation where the Cowboys win that division? I almost wonder if that tie, though, really F's them over.
Yeah. Number 2, get them in the chat, get the FKCs flowing. But at the end of the day, and our Broncos host was telling me, he was like, the Chiefs don't scare me at all if they make the playoffs. Like, I am not concerned at all with the Kansas City Chiefs. And yes, this is maybe the worst Chiefs team that we've seen in the past 5 years. But at the end of the day, it's Patrick Mahomes. We know better than anybody. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Nobody wants to see Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs. And I literally think that this Chiefs season, and I hope it's not the case, it just reminds me of when Tom Brady was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And everyone was like, the Buccaneers aren't all that good. And they actually probably weren't all that good. But the defense started to play good football, and nobody wants to play Tom Brady in the month of January, and God forbid February. And that's how I feel about Kansas City. Kansas City could be 0-17, and if they found a way to get in the playoffs, I wouldn't want to go up against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Whether we hate it or not, it's the truth. I wouldn't want to go up against them.
And the final team in the hunt that everybody should be scared about, was there any doubt? It's the Houston Texans.
And they've won, 4 straight? 5?
4 straight games. They have the number 1 defense in the NFL. C.J. Stroud, he started off that game against the Colts with a pick, but he rebounded, had a great second half. The offensive line looks like it's at least, it's there. Like, it's not horrible. I think the Texans are a scary team because what's the old adage, Mitch? Defense wins championships. And you know who has the best defense in the NFL? It's the Houston Texans.
I mean, their ability right now to get after quarterbacks, I mean, it truly does remind me of, like, those teams where you hear, like, the NASCAR package. Every package they got is a NASCAR package. Like, you can't double-team anybody. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter is the best defensive end duo in the NFL right now. I don't think it's all that close. I do wonder, it's like, can C.J. Stroud take down Patrick Mahomes? You know what's been proven to take down Patrick Mahomes? An unbelievable pass rush. Like, what's been proven to really separate teams in the playoffs? It's teams that can get after the quarterback. And I don't think that there's a better team right now being able to get after the quarterback than Houston.
And, they're primed to take one of those wild card spots. And I did see a Chargers fan in the chat. And I needed to pull this graphic for you because Chargers fans are talking a lot of that good shit right now, right? Like they feel very good about themselves. Look at the Chargers' last 5 games.
Oh, dude. All right, and again, how long is Herbert out? I mean, even if he's playing, when Justin Herbert got hurt in that game against the Raiders, he was clearly a different quarterback. And right now, the Chargers are what, 8-4? They're 8-4.
They play the Eagles this week, coming off 2 losses. Then they play the Kansas City Chiefs
on the road.
Probably coming off 2 losses, hopefully.
Then
they play at Dallas, who will be fighting for a playoff spot for sure. Then they play against the Texans, fighting for a playoff spot for sure. Their only leave is Week 18 against the Denver Broncos, but I think they'll be fighting for that number 1 seed.
Number 1 seed.
And it's in Denver. So if you're a Chargers fan, you should be shitting down your leg right now.
I mean, I'll say this right now, 9-8. I think the Chargers finished 9-8. And I only say that I actually think the most winnable game on here is Philadelphia because they're struggling right now. But I also think Philadelphia kind of plays that brand of FU football, and with Herbert, when Herbert, whatever he did with his hand, that clearly bothered him.
Yeah.
And he does not have that. I would say they're going to try to protect him, and if he's not able to run like he usually does, that does hurt that offense. I mean, that's got to be the toughest final 5 games in the NFL.
Easily.
That's a gauntlet.
But guys, my top 5 teams in the hunt, and that's why this Sunday Night Football is so critical, because nobody wants to play the Chiefs, but with a Texans win on Sunday Night Football over the Chiefs, it doesn't take them out of the playoffs 100%, but in boxing terms, they're on the mat. They're not knocked out, but they are on the mat if they lose to the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football.
I mean, honestly, I'm more looking forward to being able to do like watch parties for games that like aren't the Raiders. like to be able to do a watch party to be like, this is going to be the game that knocks out Kansas City. Sign me the F up for that. Sign me the F up for that, man.
I mean,
and like Loyal said, I know the Chargers are the Chargers, but they also have choked. And Justin Herbert is a unbelievably talented quarterback. Nobody thinks that he's not unbelievably talented. But does anybody have faith in Justin Herbert in the month of January? I don't. I definitely don't.
And yeah, it's just
Robert says taking that 8 count. Yeah, and then they're getting up a little bit, Robert. They're like, oh, shit, man.
Oh.
We do have one more segment coming up here on today's show. Friendly reminder, here are the deals on today's program. We're not going to give away just one. We're giving away 2 signed Maxx Crosby items this month for December. Again, if you're still a Raiders fan and you're watching this program, salute to you, shout out to you. Every $5 super chat, you're going to get 1 raffle ticket. We have a signed Maxx Crosby helmet and a signed Maxx Crosby football. Basically, if when we spin the wheel at the end of the month, if it lands on you, you can either take the football, you can take the helmet, and then the next person, whoever it lands on, you'll just get what the other person doesn't want. We've been doing 1 item, but I think Hanukkah, Christmas, who knows? Maybe we'll even get some more items. If you need to just let out a good scream because you're a frustrated Raiders fan, I'll try to do my best for you. I'll let out that scream. If you do want to get in our duck race, chance to win a little bit of money, I just saw Philip Bogert got it in, $20 Venmo right now for a chance to win $100 on this program. I see Cameron Rodriguez, Victor Lobos, Sean Morgan, though it says Sean Organ, Justine Gonzalez, Darth Fatass, L.A. Crash Dog. I see Chris Perez, Manuel Ruiz, Rustin Long, Philip Bogert. If you did not hear your name, please yell at me down in the chat. And if you want to bang $100 super chat, I'm giving you 100 raffle tickets for a shot to win that Maxx Crosby raffle, which right now, the MVP of today's show, Venthrak. So far, the only person to bang. So far has by far the best odds to win the signed Maxx
We're
Crosby
going to get
raffle.
through the rest of these Super Chats, and then we're going to get into the final segment on today's show. So if you want to get your question up, get that Super Chat in right now, and then we'll go through all of those and do the last segment on the program.
Also, I just saw Nab Man down there in the chat. Nab, all the messages that you've been sending me, again, like I don't give my phone number out to many people. I'd say there's probably 20 people that watch this show that probably have my phone number. Obviously, Nab Man's one of those guys. And, Nab, all the messages you've been sending me over the past week, dude, like you always say, like, we helped you get through a tough time. Again, like I know you got my back, I got your back. And, at the end of the day, man, I just want you to know I appreciate you. Suave, in a world where Pete ends up staying, I can't do it, Suave. Honestly, in a world where he ends up staying, I just started watching Stranger Things for the first time. My wife, Alex, is like, you got to watch Stranger Things because the new episodes apparently don't come out until Christmas. What I think of the world of Pete staying, it looks like that. What is it? Have you seen Stranger Things?
I haven't seen the last season, so spoilers.
I won't tell you I've seen the first 4 episodes of the last season.
I have not.
But I haven't seen any of the other episodes. So I'm starting.
Wait. You watched the new season before you watched any episodes.
You got to understand how my household works. Alex is the movie person. So we started watching Stranger Things, and I was like, I was sick. So because I was sick, I was like,
Had she seen the other seasons?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, if both y'all just raw dog season 5, that's nuts.
No, she's seen all the seasons.
Bro, I was like,
but I was sick laying on the couch, and in my mind, when I'm like sick, I try to sleep and I don't watch. And I was like, oh, like episode 1 was interesting. I watched it. Episode 2 was interesting, and I ended up watching all 4, and I was like, oh, like that's pretty cool. So then she was like, well, since we gotta wait, you should try to watch all the other seasons before the new one comes out. So we just started. Like I just got through like the first 2 episodes of season 1 yesterday with her. But whatever it's like the Upside Down World, whatever the hell it's called, that's the world where Pete Carroll. That's how we got into that tangent. But, no, we got to go back.
Oh.
What coaching staff would have to sell you to have any type of hope? Fire Pete and his kids and Gino. If you're saying we're keeping Pete Carroll, the number one thing you got to do is move on from Gino Smith. Marshall's out there head bobbing.
Marshall, do we like the UNT hire?
I guess, again, I think it would have to be.
Sounds like he doesn't love it.
I don't know. To be honest with you, Suave, I actually can't come up with anything because you can't sell me on the Pete Carroll Raiders. I wish I could give you a name. I wish I could give you an OC. I wish I could give you a DC. What if it was like, I don't know, Mike McCarthy for offensive coordinator? Is Tomlin considered more of a defensive guy? Like I've always just viewed Tomlin as a CEO.
I think more of a defensive coach.
Tomlin for defensive coordinator. It's not even a world of a possibility. You can't sell me on it. You can't sell me on Pete. Jason, thoughts on Peterson or Frank Reich? Frank Reich has been a name I've brought up before, and he's had ties. I'm trying to think who he has ties with. I don't know if it's with Spytech necessarily. I know he's interviewed before. Again, smart offensive-minded guy. Doug Peterson is another like smart offensive-minded coach. Proved to not probably be the best not to be the best head coaches, but I just think that you can do a lot better. I want a young, innovative. I want all young, innovative guys. Like I want an organization that we can build with for the future and keep on going forward. I'm Doug Peterson, Frank Reich are some retread names. There's a lot better names out there than those two guys. What up, Don Lugeek?
Don
Lugeek, head coach Chris Shula and Mike LaFleur at OC. And LaFleur is not going to come here and be the OC. He's already the OC for the Rams. So one of these, you'd have to pick between one of these two guys. Chris Shula or Mike LaFleur. The reason why I am more on the boat of Shula than LaFleur is because LaFleur doesn't call the plays for the Rams. Because I know Shula has done a lot with that Rams defense, and, I mean, that's a Rams defense that people thought was going to struggle. I think it's one of the better defenses in the NFL. I know that offense gets a lot of attention, but I would pick Shula over LaFleur. And that might be a hot take, but I would. What up, Blink? Tampa Bay ain't making it. Go Panthers. I mean, I'm rooting for Carolina. Carolina is a team that I find myself rooting for this year. Now, I got Rico Dowdle in a fantasy league, but that's a team that nobody thought had any hope. And I still go back to the story. There was like a Carolina Panthers podcast, and they were like, "We give up. This team sucks." And since then, all they've done really is win. Ricardo, Mitch, remember this day next year, December 2nd, when the Raiders draft Nussmeier and we bring in new head coach Jesse Minter. The Eagles are fading the way. Yeah. Again, I like the idea of Jesse Minter, but I don't see a world where Nussmeier is going to be the quarterback. Dylan, nervous hiring Tomlin or someone like that is if they want to run the show. I want a GM managing and a head coach coaching. We need to stop looking backwards. I agree with you, Dylan. Like, if Mike Tomlin were to come in and say, I'm calling the shots, I'm not interested. I will say that right now. I want a GM in our front office to operate like a GM in a front office. And then you let the head coach be the head coach. The only people that deserve to be kind of head coach GM duos are guys that have been able to prove it year after year after year. Right? And there's not many of those guys. But there's a reason why a lot of good organizations stay good organizations, because they operate the way that they're supposed to operate, right? Like, you don't have a fry cook trying to make burgers. You don't have a burger guy trying to make fries. Burgers make the burgers. Fries make the fries. Simple. Mega Cooler. At this point, most other coaching options are an upgrade over Pete. I could not agree with you more. I just hope we get someone who actually knows what to do and what's right. I mean this right now. Pete Carroll is not a top 100 coach in the end. Like, there are, I think right now there's probably 100 to 200 people that I think are more qualified to be a head coach in today's day and age in the NFL. Y'all know how much I hated Josh McDaniels. I would rather Josh McDaniels be the head coach of the Raiders than Pete Carroll. Like, I would. It sucks to say it, but I would. And that's why, like, you just have to know you have to move on from Pete. I do mean that. I do honestly mean that. And that's how bad I am right now. I'm down bad, man.
I mean it.
I'm down so bad as a fan. And it sucks, but I know I'm not the only one that's down this bad. I see two more people getting in this duck race. Rob Fravor, you're in. Also, Chadwick Howard, you in. If you don't already know, $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 for a chance to win a little bit of money. We got one more segment coming up here on the Raiders Report, and this was a show that I tried to do on Monday, but my body was telling me no, even though my mind was telling me yes. And that's just how it's going to go. So we got one more segment. Then we're going to do a little bit of a duck race here, and then we're going to get the F out of here to the 775 people that are still rocking with us. We've been live for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I've had a lot of fun. I've missed all of y'all. I had an amazing time with my friends, my family over the week, but I miss you guys when I can't come in, and I felt bad yesterday not being able to go live, and I get people who are like, Mitch, you got to not feel bad about it, but this is my job, this is my life, and I do take it very, very seriously. So I'm happy to be back. I'm happy that I'm feeling better, and I wouldn't rather be anywhere else. I'd love to be on the beach I was in for my honeymoon with my wife, but maybe outside of that. All right, you ready to get into this bad boy? What are you looking at? I mean, I'll tell you that, again, a college team should hire John Gruden. I mean, I would go, yeah. Again, I met John Gruden. When John used to come to the Lafayette games when his son Deuce played there, I did see the hologram. The John Gruden hologram in the locker room, only the real ones remember. I mean, that was a sick hologram. That shit gave you chills, man. All right, y'all. One more segment, then we got a duck race, and then I got to get the F out of here. You ready to rock? You guys ready to rock? Coming up, I'm going to tell you why the Raiders are guaranteed to have a top 2 pick in the NFL draft. I don't know about y'all. As a Raiders fan, I need more good news. And if you feel that exact same way, I want you to hit that like button because coming up here today on the Raiders Report, I got some really good news for the nation. Here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you why the Las Vegas Raiders are guaranteed to have a top 2 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. And if you didn't hit the like button before, maybe you can hit that like button again. And you know what? If you even want to give this video a hype, I wouldn't mind it at all. Because coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you why the Las Vegas Raiders are guaranteed to have that top 2 pick. Because right now, as it stands, going into Week 14, here is the first 10 picks of the 2026 NFL Draft. Now, I'm really only going to focus on the top 5 because the Raiders are sitting there at number 4 with that 2-10 record. And we're going to really focus on the Titans, the Giants, the Saints, and the Raiders. We're going to look at schedules. I'm going to tell you why the Raiders are going to have that top 2 pick. And first, we're going to look here at why, and it's the biggest reason why, the Las Vegas Raiders are not going to win another game this season. I did also try to do this style of a show on Monday during my Overreaction Monday segment, but my body was telling me no, even though my mind was trying to tell me yes. So I don't see the Raiders winning another game. And when you look at the remaining schedule here, the only game that you got a chance to win, I think, is against the New York Giants in Week 17. Because you're not beating Denver, you're not beating Philly, you're not beating Houston, and you're not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 18. I wish I could tell you anything else. I wish I could give Raiders fans hope, but I also think, and I hate saying it, I'm not Team Tank, and I don't think I need to be Team Tank because this team's bad enough to not win another game. But at this point in the season, I want a brand new head coach that wants to come coach here, and I think the way that you're going to get the top candidates out there, because again, for anybody out there, it's like, oh, move on from Tom Brady. Tom Brady wanted Mike Vrabel. Tom Brady wanted Ben Johnson. Both those guys right now are number 1 in the AFC and in the NFC. And I do think that if we have a chance to get that next great head coach, you need to have a top 2 pick, maybe even the number 1 overall pick. So with that being said, I kind of want the Raiders to lose out because I kind of want the Raiders to have the number 1 overall pick or at least the number 2 pick. So you can let me know, after looking at that Raiders schedule, do y'all think that they're going to win another game this season? I say no. I think this team's going to finish 2-15, but you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, scroll on down and tell me how many games you think the Raiders are going to win this season. 2. 2. And what's wild is the fact that we won Week 1 against the New England Patriots, a team that right now is the number 1 team in the AFC. The only other team that we've been able to beat is the Tennessee Titans. Where we're going to go next year because they are the number 1 seed in the NFL, or the number 1 overall team in the NFL draft as it stands right now. And the reason why I'm confident that we're going to have a top 2 pick is I want you guys to look at the Titans schedule. And you got to remind yourself, yes, the Raiders did beat Tennessee, but the way that the NFL draft operates, it goes by strength of schedule. And actually, as it stands right now, the Titans have a harder strength of schedule than the Las Vegas Raiders. So if the Titans and the Raiders were to finish with the exact same record, the Raiders would get the jump up over the Tennessee Titans. And here's the Titans' remaining schedule. I think Week 14 is a potential winning game against Cleveland. I don't think they're going to beat San Francisco. I do not think that they're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 17 against New Orleans. So that means that the number 1 seed and the number 3 seed are going to have to play each other. I don't know why I keep saying the number 1. The number 1 overall pick, the number 3 overall pick, the Titans and the Saints, they have to play each other Week 17. What's really interesting about Week 17, again, the Raiders played the New York Giants that exact same week. The most important week for Raiders fans, and it's not close at all at this point, is Week 17 because of that matchup. But I will also say, the Raiders, I think the only winnable game for them is Week 17 against the Giants, where I look at the Titans and I go, they could win 2 games. But remind yourself, they only need to win 1, because if the Raiders and the Titans finish with the same record, the Raiders will be higher than the Titans. Let's now go to the New York Giants, who are picking number 2 if the NFL draft were to start today. And I want you to look at this Giants schedule. And I get it. The Giants are a bad football team. You probably watched that game on Monday Night Football, and you probably saw a kicker literally kick the grass. And you got Week 15 against Washington. That's a winnable game. Week 16 against Minnesota. If J.J. McCarthy or whoever the hell is playing quarterback there, that's a winnable game. Week 17 against the Raiders. That's a winnable game. I look at this Giants schedule, and I think that they can win at least one, maybe two games. If they win one game, they're going to be higher than the Raiders. And I think when you match up the Giants and you match up the Raiders in Week 17, the Raiders are going to get mollywopped. Because, again, the Giants have given up a lot of leads, but when you just compare the two teams, the Giants are clearly the more significant team, and the Giants have something to play for. They're still trying to, save jobs. And I don't know if you saw the press conference with Mara. They understand the questions, but they also have a team that, again, is trying to build for the future with Jackson Dart. The Giants, I think that schedule, much easier than the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming up here, I got more reasons why I think the Raiders are going to have a no doubt top 2 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Before we dive into that, though, today's show sponsored, operated by our good friends over at PrizePicks. And I love this time of the year, the holiday season, whether you celebrate Hanukkah like Chugs or you celebrate Christmas like me. I know this right now. There's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's on PrizePicks. I also love how straightforward PrizePicks is. I don't got to spend a lot of time trying to calculate my payouts. PrizePicks makes it easy with their payout multipliers, whether you want to go with the flex play, whether you want to go with the power play. PrizePicks makes it easy to understand how much you can win. PrizePicks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you can cash in. PrizePicks now also offers stacks, meaning that you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to go more on, let's say, Jaden Higgins receiving yards and a Jaden Higgins touchdown, you can do that stack. And I'm showing you the Chiefs and Texans game because I care more about the Texans beating the Chiefs than I do the Raiders beating the Broncos. It pains me to say it, but damn it, it's the God-honest truth, and I'm always going to be God-honest with everybody here that watches this show. And there's a reason why. It's America's #1 fantasy app out there. If your fantasy football team stinks, if your actual NFL team stinks, then download America's #1 fantasy sports app right now. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Now let's go to the New Orleans Saints, who are picking number 3 overall right now in the NFL Draft if it were to happen today. And I want you to look at this New Orleans Saints schedule because Week 14, not easy. Week 15 against Carolina, not easy. But one thing that I always find myself saying is sometimes interdivision games can get funky. And interdivision games can get funky. But I look at the last 3 games. The Jets, that's a winnable game. The Titans, somebody's got to win that football game. And then Week 18 against Atlanta. Yeah, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to end up firing Raheem Morris. And I almost wonder if that team's going to give up at that time. And because the Saints have 2 wins, they just need to win 1 game. My bottom line and the biggest reason why I am making this video is because when you look at the Raiders schedule, you look at the Titans schedule, you look at the Giants schedule, and you look at the New Orleans Saints schedule. By far the hardest schedule on there right now is the Las Vegas Raiders. And I also think if the Raiders were to play the Titans would win. I'm saying right now. If the Raiders would play the Saints would win. If the Giants were to play the Raiders, and they will, Week 17, the Giants are going to win. The Las Vegas Raiders, as it stands right now, are the worst team in the National Football League. So with that being said, I'm going to give you guys my projected 2026 NFL draft order. I wish I could be able to sit up here and tell y'all that I think the Raiders are going to have that #1 overall pick. It means that the Titans need to be able to get a win. I don't know if that's going to end up happening. What I do know always ends up happening is people showing up part of the Noti gang. I always show love to the Noti gang because these are names that, again, like when I push out a video, the first names that pop up on that video are names that I see. They're, I like comments, I heart comments, I respond to them, I give them a shout out to the Noti gang. But when you're a part of that Noti gang, it tells me you're subscribed. tells me you got your notifications on, and it tells me you're a real one. So to Renzo, Jay Sasa, Juan, Ricky, and Sergio, I see y'all, I rock with y'all, and I appreciate y'all. So here is my projected top 4 picks, because quite frankly, these are really the only picks that I think really matter to anybody watching the show. I don't know if the Titans win another game. I'll be honest with you. I think that they could, but I don't know if they do. So I think that the Titans are going to be number 1. Raiders are going to be number 2. Saints at number 3. Giants at number 4. And when you look at the Jets schedule, they could be 5 or 6 on this list. But 5 or 6 to climb up to number 1, the Titans already have their quarterback in Cam Ward. They've already drafted him. So if the Raiders wanted to be able to take a QB, they'd be able to do it. Why do I say that? Saints, I think they end up sticking with Tyler Shuck. They drafted him. They drafted Jackson Dart. If the Raiders want a shot to go get a quarterback, they will be able to do it. I think to assure yourself that you get it, you will probably have to trade up, and you're going to have to give up some picks to do it. But I believe in my heart of hearts, the Las Vegas Raiders are a lock to have a top 2 pick in the NFL draft. And I also think that the Raiders are going to be a very interesting spot because whatever head coach comes in, they're going to be able to pick their quarterback. And if they don't pick a brand new quarterback, shame on you. Shame on you. Now, we still got 5 games left of the season. I will be live for every Raiders game that goes on for the remainder of the year. And again, it sucks to say, like, I'm in a weird spot as a fan because I don't want the team to try to tank. Because I think when you try to tank, it's a bad message. I think that this team's just so bad that they don't even have to try. They're just going to lose out because I don't see a game on that schedule where the Raiders are going to win because every team that they're going to go up against is trying to win to try to make the playoffs or at least make their seed a little bit higher. For that reason, the Las Vegas Raiders are guaranteed to have a top 2 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Love it, love it, love it. Did it get significantly colder in here? I feel like earlier today it was like 80 degrees out there. I can feel how much colder it is right now. Mega cooler. At this point, yeah, I think we actually already got that one.
This?
Yep, I think we just got that one.
Talking about Will.
Will Levis with a good offensive coach, big arm mobile. Not interested at all. I was not a fan of Will Levis coming out of college. Didn't think that he was going to be very good either. So, again, like to me, I have no interest in Will Levis. And, Jason, I don't know. You got some wild ideas. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your super chats. But you know, you're trying to sell me on – you're trying to sell me in a season where I think the Raiders are going to go 2-15 on Arch Manning in 2027 and Will Levis. You know, like, I'm good, man. I'm good. Robbo, mentor. I think you mean mentor. I thought you were saying like somebody's got a mentor, Clint Kubiak. Yeah, I'm with you. Jesse Minter, Kubiak, Shula. I love those ideas, Rob. What up, Nav? Mitch, you do realize the actual antagonist for Gino is the chat. Hug these, haha. He needs shouted out and applauded for repping the nation correctly. Well done. Is Hug the one that got him to get flipped off? I mean, I know this. Like, I understand Gino Smith being frustrated with the fan base, but again, like Gino's also got to understand like that we have all the reason to be frustrated, and it might not be a fair thing to say, but it's just the truth. You can't stoop down to like if a fan's telling you boo, you got to unfortunately swallow your pride a little bit and go off the field. And I think when you're getting paid the amount of money that these guys are getting paid, that comes with the job, right? Like there's a lot of guys that have to sacrifice a lot more that don't get paid nearly the amount of money that Geno Smith's getting paid. And you know, I think for anybody that has served in the military, like, you know, even if you don't like what's being said to you, sometimes you got to swallow that humble pill and you got to keep moving on forward. But again, I don't think it's fair. I also don't think it's fair that Geno Smith gets to make, you know, $66 million, and a lot of us here will probably never see $66 million because the job that Geno Smith has done doesn't even warrant, I think, $1 million, quite frankly.
Did you see OBJ today?
No.
He said people don't realize how hard it is to make $100 million last.
Yes, I did see that now that you say that. I mean, that's like what Cam Newton said. It's like what Adrian Peterson said. And, you know, he's probably not wrong. Like, when you make that significant amount of money, and I'll say it like this, you know, when I first started working here at Chat Sports, I made $34,000 a year. I'm not afraid to say it. Like, that was my starting salary. And, you know, when you make more money, I make a lot more than $34,000 a year now. And, you know, you kind of have to go through the when you give people money that aren't used to having money, it's a hard adjustment to be able to make. And I don't make obviously anywhere near like any of that type amount of money. But I also hope that OBJ understands how dumb of a comment that is. You know, like when you make $100 million, you hire a financial advisor and you manage your money correctly. I wish I had that problem, though. I wish I had a problem of $100 million. What up, Killer? Is it possible if we get a rookie young head coach, he can come in with a chip on their shoulder, would actually want to study the players that we have and show the rest of the NFL what he can do? I think it's exactly why you want to hire a young head coach. Like, the one thing I'll keep saying over and over, I want a head coach that wants to make his legacy with the Raiders. Pete Carroll doesn't need to make his legacy with the Raiders. Honestly, Josh McDaniels doesn't need to make his legacy with the Raiders. John Gruden didn't really need to make his legacy with the Raiders. Like, there were so many people that we've hired in the past that haven't really needed to make their legacy with the Raiders. I want guys that want to make their legacy with the Raiders. And I want a new young head coach. Also, shout out to this guy, LA Crash Dog! Bang! 100 raffle tickets for this guy right here. We appreciate your dedication, brother. But you need to take care of yourself for the long haul. Yeah, I actually had a Raiders content creator reach out to me. Shout out to Protect the Shield. He hit me up on IG and he's like, "Yo, Mitch, if you ever need a guest for these, Thursday night chugging shows, let me know." I will say this. I am not going to do the crazy Thursday night beer drinking shows anymore. Again, I got some own stuff going on with my health, and I've said it before on this program, like, I will do things until I cannot anymore. And I'm not saying that I can never drink again on this program. I'm obviously going to have a beer or two when I'm watching the game, but I definitely need to start taking my health a little bit more serious, and I also want to be able to be somebody that, like, I know people don't watch this show to watch me chug beers, but I also know that there are people that probably have a good time chugging beers with me. And I'm not saying, like, again, like I'm totally going to get rid of it. But like this Thursday when I go live for Thursday Night Football, we're not going to be chugging beers. We're going to be doing a lot of other different games. We're going to be giving away a lot more prizes on Thursday night, I'll tell you that. But I am trying to do a much better job of taking care of myself. And it's because I've had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that because, it sucks not being able to do my job the way I want to be able to do it. In this past week, I haven't felt like I've been able to do my job the way that I wanted to be able to do it. It's because my body hasn't been right. So I've had a lot of messages. I appreciate that you guys have reached out to me. And if you watch the show to watch me chug beers, like, I am sorry and I apologize. But I'll keep saying it like this. I don't have to be the one that chugs the beers. If you're at home and you're like, damn it, I still want to chug a beer, dude, chug a beer for somebody throwing down a bang. Like, it would be iconic still. But I also know this, man. I've done a lot of beer chugging in my day. I did a lot of beer chugging. Somebody said do a lemon boot. Yeah, it's funny. Actually, somebody said, can you still do boots of water? If you guys still want me to do boots of water, I can do some boots of water. I think I could do that. And again, if anyone knows a veteran or someone who is fire, police, or a dispatcher and is struggling, saveawarrior.org. Tell them Father Tom sent you. Let's go to God Family. Raiders for Life. What up, Gabriel? New head coach. Let him pick his quarterback. Top 3 pick. Let Graham walk to promote Rob Leonard to D.C. Oh, and have Trump call all 3 Carrolls to stay. You're fired. I'll say this. The only coaches that I legitimately think that the Raiders want to try to keep, Rob Leonard, McCullough, the running back coach, and then, Luke Steckel, the tight end coach. Besides that, I don't think that there's going to be many coaches that stay. But I like this idea. What? What is that? I think that's his fist flipping off.
I think so.
Mickey, this is definitely your 2 hands, right? Cheers, Mitch Chugs in the chat. Glad you're feeling better. I'm glad you called out the beat writers. Also fire Pete and hire a young coach. Again, like, I don't love the fact that I felt like I had to call him out. And I hate that people think that all I do is bitch and moan, but I've only been able to bitch and moan because we've been a terrible football team. We've been a terrible organization for so long. But I also think, like, I hate when my time's wasted. I hate when y'all's time's wasted. And when you're wasting my time, my friends' time, my family's time, Raider Nation's time, I'm going to call people out. And, for a Raiders beat writer to literally tell me, like, I agree with you, Mitch. I think a lot of the Pete Carroll pressers are a waste of time. That is a exact quote that a Raiders beat reporter that all of you know said to me. And, that's kind of an eye roll, and it's kind of annoying. And I get it that the questions are not pre-scripted and they're not pre-screened, but a lot of people in that organization are very highly encouraged to be positive all the time. All I want is questions that actually matter. All I want are questions that, give me some substance, right? I look at a Pete Carroll presser like, imagine you paying for an all-you-can-eat buffet, and then you go up there to get the food, and there's nothing that you want. You're like, man, I just feel like I just wasted all my time, all my money. I want the questions, and again, I gave options for the questions. I had a few of the beat reporters, fire back at me and oh, we've already asked those questions. With all due respect, ask them again. NFL is a week-to-week basis. Now, I get it. You got some people that they want to write articles, they want to put stuff out there, and they have paywalls, they want you to read them, and that's kind of like the backfire I got. And I get it. Everything's a business at the end of the day, but I'm kind of thankful for it also because I know people watch the Raiders Report because we know the fan base, we know the team. And I know a lot of the beat reporters aren't fans of the team, and not that they don't care about the team. They obviously cover the team, so they have to care about it. But again, I know why people watch this show, and it's because we have a way better pulse on the team, on the fans than I think anybody else on the planet. And I will continue to stand 10 toes on it. We got 2 more super chats to be able to get to, but this is your final call to get in the duck race. $20 Venmo. At Mitchell Renz 365. The last time that I checked, it was a $20 Venmo to go home with $120. I am here to tell you that it's a little bit more right now. Patrick Roche, you are in. Roshi, it's good to see you, my man. John Polito, you in. Christopher Slaughter, I got you. You're in. And then again, Sean Morgan here in the building, y'all. Wow, Christopher Slaughter, I don't know if I could have possibly spelled your last name more wrong. It's not even close. What up, Hug? It's true. Gino and I share a moment, and I got an official Allegiant conduct warning to prove it. I actually have the photo of the conduct warning, so I've had a fan send it to me. You must have sent it to somebody else. Never seen it happen before. I thought as a ticket-paying fan, I could salute Gino if I wanted to. I think the more cowardly thing that he did was he ratted on you at halftime. Somebody came out and gave you the ticket, and then because he knew he ratted on you, then he flipped you the bird. Because at that point, what can you do? What can you say? And I mean, that's just that's the type of person leader Gino Smith is. He's the type of guy where I've been seeing a lot the Juwan Jennings thing, and Shelby Harris is like, Juwan Jennings is a hoe. For him to say what he did to a grown man and then go hide behind his offensive line, I mean, that's the type of guy Gino Smith is. Gino Smith's the type of guy where he knows you're not going to be able to do anything to you, but he made sure to first give you that warning and then give you the bird afterwards. And again, that's who Gino Smith is as a man. I think Gino Smith is a hoe. I would love to be able to flip him the 2 birds, and I'll keep saying it. The number one reason why I want Gino Smith to come back next season, and it's the only reason why I want him to come back next season, it's so I can see him at the Raiders Gala in May. Dude, I would love to be able to see that guy in face-to-face. Because, again, he can't do anything to me. I can't do anything to him, and I know that that's the case. But I'll say this, Hug. I salute you for standing up for yourself. I salute you for standing up for Raider Nation. And I don't blame you for doing it at all. I really, really don't. Suave, in a world where Pete ends up staying.
Oh, wait.
I'll say, I think that's an old one.
This one.
Because there is no world. Mitch, who would throw more interceptions? Gino versus you, as hammered as you've ever been on a show? It's going to be me. Again, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I can play quarterback at the NFL level. I do still think that I can throw a football further than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll die on that hill. But, again, I'm not going to act like I can play quarterback at the NFL level. Geno Smith is way more talented than I ever could be. Geno Smith is way more athletic than I am. And, anybody watching this show right now that thinks that they could play in the NFL, I question you. But, again, to me, Geno Smith to me is Everything wrong with the Las Vegas Raiders in 2025. Everything wrong with the Pete Carroll Raiders. And I'll leave it like that. All right, final call here. One more time. I see a few more people that just got in last moment. Carlos Comedy in. Gabriel Ruiz in. Michael Doge. What up, Michael Doge? Mikey Raffin. Anthony Green. That's it. Nobody else is getting in. 20 to win. $210 here on the Raiders Report.
All right.
If you missed your chance, I apologize. If you send one in now, all I'll say is this. I'll put you in the next duck race. I'll put you in the next duck race, which would be Thursday when we're live here on the Raiders Report. Yep. Nabman, mayo sandwich will make you feel better, Mitch. No chance, dude. Though, I don't want to say like we were poor growing up because it's not really the case. Like, and I live in a small town, but I definitely grew up eating relish buns, ketchup sandwiches. I ate a lot of PB&Js because I also didn't love like meat or protein growing up. Like, I had my first cheeseburger when I was 12 years old, but I ate a lot of relish buns and ketchup sandwiches. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, winner of this race is gonna be going home with $210. And again, my mom and my dad, they would back me up on that. My parents loved me to the end of the moon and back. I wouldn't change my childhood for anything. I think it's taught me a lot of the life lessons that I have now as an adult, but we definitely didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I think anybody that knows ketchup sandwiches or relish buns, mayo sandwiches, knows exactly what I'm talking about. 3, 2, 1, let's get it going. David Zahn in the chat. What's up, David? Santana, the higher road I see. Laugh out loud. Good, I get it. Yeah, I get it, man. To me, the only way that I can sit up here and say the things that I do about Gino Smith is it's got to be 100% authentic. And there's not a world where I think I'm a better quarterback than Gino Smith. Chris Perez. Chill, bro. L.A. Crash Dog. I think that's actually the creepiest one. That's the creepiest one. Sean Morgan.
It's the tail with the hand.
It's the hand, dude. I mean, I guess it would be a lot easier to wipe your ass, though.
Yeah.
Mikey Raffin hasn't had a carb since 2006. Patrick Roche, I feel like that's a new one. Cameron Rodriguez. Yikes. That's what I feel like when Suave's getting it in. Is that what it looks like, Suave? Who's this down here? I think it's going to be Slaughter. It's going to be Slaughter by a nose.
The Rhino Toaster.
Who gets the butthole pick?
That would be
Christopher Slaughter. If you're still here, if you could please confirm that you just received $210. Sean Morgan, congratulations, the big winner. Or was it Sean Organ or Sean Morgan?
It was Sean Organ.
Sean Organ? I'll send you an Organ. Don't worry. I'll send you an Organ there, Sean. Hey, guys, real talk, though. You know, I know that I've been out for a few days. I know that the last time that I went live literally was I haven't been going live as much. But that's because it was during the holidays. I'll be back live again on Thursday. I'll be live on Raiders Game Day. And with the month of December coming down, I'm probably going to start going live for some other games as well because I don't want the Chiefs to make the playoffs. I would love for the Broncos and the Chargers all to miss it as well. We'll probably do some more hate watch parties for those teams. We'll probably also do some interesting watch parties and around draft picks. Like, I'll be rooting for the Giants more. I'm going to be rooting for the Titans more. I'm going to be rooting for all those teams to do better so that way the Raiders can potentially have that number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Make sure you subscribe to the Raiders Report to stay up to date on all things going on around the Raiders. I will continuously say you will be a smarter Raiders fan watching this show. If you don't believe me, subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. If you haven't learned anything after a week, unsubscribe, go somewhere else. I don't think that you will. And the reason why I don't think that you will unsubscribe, it's because we've built an awesome community here. We've built an awesome family here. And I do really take more pride in the community we've built here on this channel than anything else. Your voice can be heard. It will be heard. And we're going to be a lot louder together. From me, from Jeremy Chuggs, the whole Chat Sports team, I'll see you guys Thursday live here on the Raiders Report. Peace out.